one that, I think out of all the places to play in the cold weather, you think about the cold probably the least in Lambeau. You can't escape the history. And, I know our guys are going to be juiced for just the opportunity to play on Thanksgiving. I think that's a big deal to a lot of people.
And Tua's thoughts.
I think the players look at that as a great honor, great opportunity. The reason I say that is because a lot of us grew up watching primetime football. And on Thanksgiving, a lot of times you'd see the Cowboys play, you'd see the Packers play, the Lions play, and to be able to have that opportunity to play in a primetime game at night at a historic field, I don't think any of the guys take that for granted.
Gather round your audio device. We're going to serve up our thoughts and opinions on the Dolphins and Packers. This is Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans, with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Welcome on in. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin with you here alongside Alejandro Solana. Dan Day producing for us here today as we come in. We were talking about this, Solana. We're like, what's happening here? We were on pins and needles for the end of this Bears-Lions game, and Dan Day and I we are just losing our minds because Matt Eberflus is like, I think I'm going to hold on to this timeout for some Thanksgiving leftovers. Dan, what the hell was that, dude?
He wants to go get Thanksgiving dinner. Instead of calling a timeout and getting 2 plays, maybe even kicking a field goal to tie the game. 50-yard bomb with no time left and really no organization behind the play. A water boy needs to start yelling, timeout, timeout, timeout. A water boy.
Solana, this is crazy, dude. Like this team lost by the most famous Hail Mary this season. How do they not do that?
It's the most painful finish, I think, of their season because at the very least, Tobin, they had 2 opportunities. One, just call the timeout like Dan's saying. Just call it. It's not that hard. But even Caleb Williams, bro, there's 5 seconds left when you hike it. You need to go like 6 yards to get into field goal range. Why are you holding onto the ball until there's a second left to throw it? Oh, my God. Was that maddening?
Dude,
maddening, bro.
That's like a one-way ticket to Firedville if you're Eberflus. Like,
I was cheering for the Lions out of tradition. I'm still mad right now at the Bears.
Like that's
Tobin,
crazy.
National TV. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with the Dolphins today. Just don't do something stupid like that where you're the talk of Thanksgiving Day for the next 2 days because there's no football. I know there's football tomorrow, but there's no Sunday slate until Sunday. You don't want to be the talk of the NFL for being stupid like Matt Eberflus just was. That's brutal, man.
Dude, I don't even understand what I just it's like I don't understand what I just watched.
Who likes your timeouts more, Mario Cristobal or Matt Eberflus?
I guess Eberflus. I guess he wants to keep him extra. I guess at least you could just say with Cristobal, it's like, yeah, we're men. We don't need down for anybody. But that is just, that's crazy to me, man. How do you do that? How is that? That is bananas. All right, everybody, listen. We've talked enough Lions Bears. Welcome on in. We are going to get you ready for Dolphins and Packers from Lambeau Field. And this is an exciting one, Solana. Another one, heavy stakes. Dolphins have an opportunity to even up their record. We have a chance here to right the ship, but there's a lot of things that trip the Dolphins up. Prime time, good team, bad weather. This is the unholy trinity of Dolphins narrative obstacles they have to overcome. But if they do, that little thing that everybody has in the back of their head of hope, like an end of season run, you could start believing. Or we could just never trust this team again. Like that's No big deal. Those are the stakes today. Those are the stakes going into this game at Lambeau.
Remember last year we beat the Cowboys 22-20 on Christmas Eve. Remember that, Tobin? And we're like, oh my God, we finally did it. We beat a playoff team. We found a way to win. We beat a good team. And the Dolphins built up some really good faith with their fan base, right? Like, I mean, really good faith. And then you had that stretch at Baltimore versus Buffalo. And you get rocked in Baltimore. You're like, well, it's Baltimore on the road. You're injured, is what it is. And then you have Buffalo. And, well, we know what happened to Buffalo. We know what happened to Kansas City. This is it, I think, for this regime. Like, win this game, and I think people are back in where they're saying, all right, this core can do it. Lose this game after beating 3 mediocre teams, and it's same old. It is what it is. We know what to expect from this team. They're never going to change.
It is. It's tough to boil it down like that and make it feel like everything comes down to this, but it does feel like everything comes down to this. And I know that there's still a lot of work to do. And this doesn't even really guarantee the Dolphins anything if they win this, because they have a lot of work to do to catch up because of the hole that they were in. But it's as low, it looms as large as possible just because of the idea of, all right, we really do need to see you guys get over a truly difficult test. And it's not even like you could look to the Cardinals and the Bills games and be like, yeah, they played admirably. Obviously had chances to win, had some awful turnovers in there, but you know, those places were there. But you didn't win. You didn't buy any good grace. You didn't give yourself any cushion. You put yourself up against it as far as possible. No margin for error. And now we're in a spot where it's like, all right, if you really want to do this, if you really want to make the storybook, here it is for you. Lambeau Field, one of the most historic places in all of the NFL, against a team with a coach who's got relationships with your head coach, a quarterback who was taken in the same class as your quarterback. He's already got a playoff win under his belt. It's got all the storylines you want. I mean, you got juicy stuff all over the place, including, you know, on the defensive side of things, Calais Campbell. Will this be the last time he plays on Thanksgiving? Chop Robinson coming along. Will he get to star? And will the nation get introduced to young Chop Robinson? So, look, there's a lot of good that can come from this. But, man, if they don't, it's one of these things. Like, I want to find myself today, Solana. I'm very optimistic, and I'm going into myself believing we're in a good place going into this. But then there's just this part of me that's like, I know this feeling. It's all too familiar because then I know what the letdown feels like.
So, Tobin, this first segment sounds a hell of a lot like the first segment we did, Game Day Uncensored, Week 2, Thursday Night Football, going into that Buffalo game. Does it not?
Yes.
Well, we're talking about stakes. We're talking about everything this team did in the offseason. It comes to fruition today. Can they get over this hurdle? The Bills have taken a step back. Dolphins are supposed to go take the grasp of the AFC East. Everything came down to Week 2 versus Buffalo. And what happened? It was perhaps the most embarrassing loss on national TV that the Dolphins have suffered, and it felt like the world was coming to an end. And man, are there a lot of games to choose from on national TV where the Dolphins fall flat on their face. So here we are again, and it sounds a lot like Week 2 where we're saying everything comes down to this point. Can this team get over the hurdle? Can they prove for the first time they can beat a team of this caliber on the road, inclement weather? And man, am I scared. Man, am I scared, because I remember Week 2 and I remember last year. And until this team proves it, I don't think I'm wrong for being scared. I don't.
No, I don't think you are either. I mean, we know what it is. Dan, like, do you feel the same way going into this today? Like, I know you have to hear all the tears afterwards when it comes to these things. So, like, what is your, I mean, after these games you've been getting, have you had the fans starting to buy in, or is everybody still like, nah, not till this game?
A little bit of both. There's some people who believe that this team still has a lot of hope. There's other people who are saying, nah, I'm not having the wool pulled over my eyes. To me, this is it. Litmus test. Pee or get off the pot. They win tonight. They're real. They lose tonight. They've been pretending all season long. That's the way I see it, and that's the way I'm going to approach it.
Not just all season long, for 3 years. Let's be real. Let's be 100% honest. I know year one of the McDaniel era, Tua gets the concussion for the second time against Green Bay. I don't exactly want to bring that up. And he ends up missing the rest of the season. I guess you can not count that season, but the reality is the rest of that season, they were awful. They just were. And against Green Bay on Christmas, they weren't very good. Following year, well, we know what happened last year. We know what happened, Tobin. So, I mean, let's be honest about what today is. You can't beat this team on the road in cold weather. Tua goes to 0-8 in cold weather environments under 35 degrees, whatever the stat is. I mean, what are we doing about this team? What are we doing about this core? And what are we doing about the direction of this franchise? Maybe I'm taking it a bit too far, perhaps, but I don't think it's an unfair statement because year three, you're in a situation again to get over the hump against a team that's going to stand in your way, and you fall short again. It's not a good look for Greer's build here in South Florida.
Man, it is that is totally fair. I think it's Call of Duty in our Call of Duty one in our chat who goes, I'm optimistically pessimistic.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's crazy. It does. Now I feel like once we're starting to talk about it, now I'm starting to get a little nervous talking about it.
Yeah, but not to get, stupid with the cliches, and I can't believe I'm going to quote Batman, but the night is darkest before the dawn, is it not? Like, everything I'm saying about why this could go south and feel just as bad as it's ever felt, perhaps worse, you come out on the other end with a victory tonight, Tobin. The Dolphins go in there.
Oh, man.
I'm not saying dominate, but hey, they control the football. They control time of possession. They move the chains. They run the football well. Tua looks good to above average, like he's been looking, playing some of the best football in his career. This victory will feel better than any victory the Dolphins have had, maybe in the Mike McDaniel era. Truthfully, better than the 70 burger and better than coming back against Baltimore week 2 in his first year, because those games didn't hold the same weight as this one does tonight.
We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. Lots of things to dive into. Adam Beasley will stop by the program. Omar Kelly will stop by the program. We will dive into all angles of this thing. But first, we'll take a look back at last week's win over the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, putting themselves in position with an absolute throttling of New England. We'll take a break. More to come here on Game Day Uncensored after this.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings.
Back, everybody.
Now let's get back to Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Edmore's has your back. Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. Edmore's is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody, to Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM here on a Thanksgiving. Tobin and Solana here with you, getting you ready for all the action as the Dolphins take on the Green Bay Packers. But before we look forward more, let's take a little look back at last week as the Miami Dolphins throttled the New England Patriots 34-15, and if it wasn't for a bad Skyler Thompson, Jalen Wright exchange, it wouldn't even be that close. But the Miami Dolphins, I mean, they absolutely punished the Patriots. Solana, that was, I don't care where that team is at, after all the years and all the Super Bowls, that felt good.
That was fun, man. That's what it was to me, Tobin. Like, every now and then, it's fun to beat up on somebody, right? Whoever it is. I love a blowout. I love a good old-fashioned blowout. Unlike the Miami Heat, who play every game close, Dolphins will give you one of these games every now and then. But the fact that it's against the Patriots, the fact that they just stink, and that Tua owns them, it was just unbelievable, is what it was. And you've been asking for some fun, and we got some fun, Tobin. We got a little waddling, and we got some fun.
We got to see Jalen Waddle do his thing, man. You know, like I've been asking for, catches in space, getting up and elevating, make some plays when, there's not like nobody near you. He was absolutely tremendous in that performance. The tone was set early for him. And yeah, props to him, man. Him and Tua to really, it felt like it almost felt intentional. Like today was a Jalen Waddle day, and I love that. I felt like it was needed for him. You could see, I don't know if you saw the mic'd up Solana, but he was even excited. He's like, I can't believe I scored. It was great. So to see Jalen Waddle go off like that and remind everybody what a weapon he can be. It's great, and I think it sets the tone for what they can use this upcoming game against Green Bay. Yeah,
I hope so. I hope that's the idea, right? Because we talk so much about how the Dolphins have kind of transitioned their offense into a more quote-unquote sustainable offense. And so far, like I can't knock it. I mean, it seems to be working. The fact that Achane continues to eat. Now you have finally Jalen Waddle having the Waddle game. I know you love Stephen Ross in the suite.
Oh my God. It's so adorable. It really is. Like, in that moment, whenever Stephen Ross was probably thinking, I was like, should I have given them all that money? It melted away in that moment. He's like, yeah, it was worth it.
It was worth it, man.
I'll give him more money. Garfinkel, give him more money. Sorry, we don't have to give him more money. Give him more money.
His hips are still a little stiff, by the way.
Well, he's a very old man. He's a very old. What do you make of this though? Because Jalen Waddle made a pretty substantial announcement after the game where he said that the Waddle is essentially on ice. You notice he did not do the Waddle, and he has said that it's people are getting too bossy with it. They're asking him in Publix to basically do the Waddle. He wants to not be identified via Waddle, which is going to be kind of impossible. It's his last name. But what do you make of the Waddle going away for a while? Does this hurt you a little bit?
I'm not upset about it. Like, look, if Jalen Waddle doesn't want to Waddle, that's fine. I mean, I just praise the hell out of him. But let's be real, he's had one good game this year. I mean, he hasn't had too many chances to Waddle, Tobin. Let's be honest. But I don't even care about seeing Waddle. I just care about Stephen Ross waddling. Like that. That's all I look for now. That's it. So if Jalen Waddle scores, as long as I get Stephen Ross in the owner's suite doing whatever the hell it is he's doing with his arms, that makes me happy. That warms my heart. So if Waddle doesn't want to Waddle, hey, I feel you, man. I get it. Been a tough year. But Stephen Ross, he gets in the end zone. He gives me the Waddle. We get the video. I'm happy.
I agree. He's going to definitely bring it out at some point. Like, I don't think the Waddle goes away forever.
Tonight,
I think
he scores a touchdown tonight, Tobin.
You think
waddling.
that if he scores against we're seeing a national TV Waddle?
Oh, he told a big fat whopper. If I don't believe him for a second that he's not
Really?
going to waddle. Thanksgiving Day, Lambeau Field, in the cold, a game the Dolphins historically always fall flat on their face, a game that everybody's counting them out nationally. And Jalen Waddle, primetime's not going to waddle? I don't believe it. I don't buy it for a second, man.
Tyreek Hill's the guy who's going to try and do the road Lambeau leap. Yeah, like that seems
Yeah,
right up his alley. Like he's
for
going to
sure.
he's going to do the road Lambeau leap and try and troll. That seems like his maneuver. But I mean, look, we got a new celebration now because this game, honestly, for me, Solana, the star of the game, the offense was fantastic and all that. But the guy who really, really shined for me was Chop Robinson.
Yeah.
Chop Robinson having that performance that he had was friggin' incredible. And I love the whole team doing the chop. Like that to me, like summoning everybody together like Voltron, and they're all just doing that's good. I that is Goosey's galore, dude.
That was sweet. It really was. Bro, I don't want to get carried away, but he looks special, right?
He does.
He does. And it's cool that it's happening at this point of the season because you kind of filled me up with some Goosies last week when you mentioned the possibility of, Bradley Chubb returning and all of a sudden you have Skyler playing at a high level. Kus Campbell's just a freak of a human. And now to see the numbers of Chop that everybody has been tweeting out, the amount of pressures that he's getting, the fact that he's able to get to the quarterback 10 times the other day, it's crazy. They're sending multiple bodies at him, running back, tight end. He's just beating the tackles every single time. He's not that big of a dude, Tobin. He's really nice, like 6'2", 6'3", but he is fast as bleep. And it was impressive. Again, I want to see it against a good team. I hold that caveat strong, and I know you hate it, but I do want to see it against a great offensive line because what the Raiders and the Patriots have are just it's a joke to call those NFL starting offensive linemen and tackles.
I agree with that. I could buy that. Like the Patriots, that right tackle. Oh my God! He must have been having cold sweats on the fly back to Boston. Like it must have been he and Drake May, quite frankly, because Drake May got his ass kicked in that game.
Yeah, he just got totally abused, bro. That right tackle, I think in the first quarter had like 2 false starts, 3 penalties on him with a hold, and Chop Robinson had already beat him 5 times, all in the first quarter. Like it was I'm surprised he didn't just tap out. Like, hey, Gerard, I'm done. Like, you got to take me out.
You we heard about this, coming into the year about them using Jalen Ramsey all over the place, and certainly it was noticeable, in the blitz game because, they send him and he's making an impact basically every time he gets after that quarterback. Like they don't bust it out a ton, but when they do, he always feels like he's making an impact play.
Remember, the Dolphins used to run that zero blitz coverage a lot with Brian Flores, and the two guys that benefited the most were Javon Holland and Blitz Boy, Brandon Jones, who's now in Denver, rat bastard over in Denver. But it was always impressive to see how those two guys just found a way to get to the quarterback. I remember Thursday night football game. I think it was Thursday night against the Baltimore Ravens. That game, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, Tobin, where Jacoby Brissett started, but then Tua ended up finishing out the game because he had been hurt and he came in. But the reason the Dolphins won that game, no joke, was the fact that whether it was Brandon Jones or Javon were able to blitz and get to the quarterback. And now, man, Jalen Ramsey is like the guy that we're barely talking about because he doesn't have the interception numbers that we're used to seeing, but he is constantly the Dolphins' best secondary player every single game and has been throughout this entire season. And now for him to find another way to make an impact, I think is really cool. The dude's, he's been worth what they paid him. He really has been. Again, we're not talking about him as much, and I know there was a lot of questions surrounding the contract, but he's been worth it every penny this year.
No, 100%. He's been worth it. He's brought everything. And look, there are a lot of great options on this defense. They're gonna have a little bit of a question with linebacker because Anthony Walker got banged up, and so you got to keep an eye on that on where things are with how much turnover there's been at that linebacker spot. But man, what they've got from the defensive line, Zach Skyler just looks completely rounded into form in what he's doing. You know, the young DBs are doing a great job as well. So it's been it's been very impressive. One of the other things that's been cool, Solana, is with Tua. Everyone, you know, look, I made fun of the shortstop comment because it was a ridiculous thing to say, you know, to say that you have the hands of a shortstop when you fumble the ball as much as you do. But he does have like these insane skills with the no look passes. That play that he had where he fooled even the cameraman, where he faked it to Malik Washington, kind of like no looks it over the shoulder to Jalen Wright. And he's doing one of these like one a game where it's just like he just looks so effortless. He looks like a point guard almost running a dribble handoff. Man, that's fun to watch. Like, I know I am a guy who likes the bombs, but that has become one of my favorite things to see from Tua every single night.
He's Luka Doncic, just throwing passes behind his head. It's cool, but you know, it begs the question: Can you do that? And we'll talk about it more. Can you do that in a cold weather game with, you know, crowd noise not on your side, conditions not favorable? But, bro, if there's one thing that nobody can knock Tua, because I'll be the first one to say he hasn't won a playoff game, and his arm is not, you know, cannon. He's not Dan Marino, right? He's not. If there's one thing you can't knock him for, it's the guy is impeccable with timing. Impeccable. So the fact that he's able to constantly hit the pitches, and he just has that command of the offense, like it's great. It's fun as hell. It's not the bomb, you're right. But to see him just no look a pitch, I mean, bro, that stuff gets me jacked the hell up, man. It does.
It's really cool. It was a really cool thing to see him blow out. Are you sure you don't want to do another debate like you did this week about if whether or not he passed Dan Marino?
Can you believe that? The Dolphins beat the Patriots. They're 5-6. They're on a 3-game win streak. Hawk comes out Monday with the take that he has surpassed Dan Marino. I'm like, what? What are we doing here?
I love Tua too, but like, you know, listen, I produce for him too. I know how annoying he is, but it's strictly just like, I'm like, what? This is the take you want to have today?
Of all days, like to come out of the box, they just beat the New England Patriots. Tua 7-0 against the Pats. And we're not even going to talk about the game. We're just going to do, is Tua better than Dan Marino? I'm like, am I, what? Am I on drugs right now? Is this happening?
The one other thing that we got to talk about that was, you know, because there's not really much to complain about in a game where you dominate this much. But dude, when they go to Skyler Thompson for literally 2 plays and he goes out there and just disaster strikes. And Mike was asked this week, I heard Chris Perkins ask this, like just flat out, hey, you trust Skyler Thompson? And like he gives his whole Mike McDaniel song and dance, but how can he? Like, how can he? And I hope that we never see Skyler the rest of the season, you know, respectfully. Because I genuinely just feel like this guy's got a black cloud around him right now, because that was crazy. That the fact that he's out there, and I don't even know if that was his fault, but I'm blaming him just because when he wasn't in there, great things were happening. And when he was in there, disaster struck. So can we put this guy on the field anymore? Is this possible?
Tobin, I'll take it a step further. Right. Like, is the Skyler Thompson experiment, I guess, over? But like, I'm talking about period. I understand right now he's your backup quarterback out of necessity. You made that decision, and Snoop Huntley's on the IR. So like, out of necessity, the dude's your backup. But I think that entire situation, whether or not it was his fault or not, might have just like been the final strike for Skyler Thompson in Miami, where Greer, McDaniel have a conversation and they're like, we can't possibly bring this dude back and sell him to the fan base again. There's no way. I don't care what he does in training camp next year. I don't care how good of an offseason he has. And McDaniel, when he was asked about it though, he said that was a disaster. And like, he was upfront about it. That was a disaster because it was. I think him benching him was like a message, right? It was a message of, hey, you do something that stupid, or we look that bad when you're out there. Whoever you are, you're getting pulled. I don't care what the situation in the game is. You're getting pulled. So the fact that he came out there 2 plays later, the score's a lot closer than it was before he got out there, and then he got his ass benched. I think was just a message, and I'm happy McDaniel did it, by the way. I don't know how you feel about it, but like I'm genuinely happy McDaniel's like, enough. Like I'm not doing this.
And the thing is though, I don't even know if he did it so much as like Tua was like, never mind. Like I'm going back in there too. Like I don't know what the
you think Tua was like LeBron telling Spo, I don't care, I'm checking in.
I
Like,
almost I don't even maybe it was mutual, but I feel like Tua was like they're so on the same page. Like I feel like Tua, as soon as he saw that, grabbed the helmet and was like, no, we're not, no, we're not. We had a perfect game out here today, and this was like you had the stupid 4th and 18 somehow, and props to Drake May because I thought he was dead the play beforehand, but like you should have had this perfect performance. No, Skyler Thompson comes in there and just all hell breaks loose. So
what do you think? He goes up to Skyler, he taps him on the helmet. Take a seat, brother.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, we'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. More to come. Adam Beasley stops by the program. Omar Kelly stops by the program as we get into this monster Turkey Day matchup against the Packers. Back with more Game Day Uncensored after this.
Football coverage on WQAM is sponsored by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.
This is gonna blow your mind.
Uncensored. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM. FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there and in our Dolphin land and 560. And as we are getting you ready for Thanksgiving showdown against the Green Bay Packers. So, Lonnie, we've had a pretty busy news day as far as the Dolphins are concerned as well. This was the skinny during the week was Shaq Barrett, our old friend from, I guess, OTAs.
Is he a friend? Is he a friend? He's an acquaintance. He's an acquaintance, Toby. He's not really a friend.
He was gonna be on the Dolphins, and then decided before the season he didn't want to play football. He had hinted in an interview with Kay Adams during maybe if I get the itch, and then apparently he got the itch this week and was like, you know what, maybe. But the first
on that interview was interesting because he said she kind of like forced him to answer a question he didn't really want to answer, to be fair. But he said it would have to be the perfect situation. His kids live in Tampa, and he referenced that. He's like, if I could play with my family in Tampa. So it seemed as if he was saying he would come back if he could play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, that seemed to be the initial thing. Then we had reports that came out that day from the great Barry Jackson and others that had said, like, word is he's willing to play for the Miami Dolphins. His agent is Drew Rosenhaus, of course, South Florida based, great relationship with Chris Greer. So the thought was, all right, well, maybe he's going to come along, and maybe the Dolphins will have a late edition pass rusher. Although his salary was a little bit beefy, and a lot of people had pointed out, like, hey, you basically paid him the same as Van Ginkel. We see what Van Ginkel's doing, and kind of looks like a big fumble by the Dolphins in doing that because he never ended up playing. Thankfully, Emmanuel Agba was just hanging out to keep you afloat a little bit. But all right, so the report out today is that the Dolphins have no intention of activating him, and that they don't have any intention of letting him go to any team. They're not going to let him just join anybody for a playoff run. Sorry.
I kind of like it, man. Grumpy Greer. He's like, hey, you think you're coming back? Oh, all of a sudden you think you're coming back, or you think we're going to let you go sign for another team? No. You made your decision. Sorry, bro. You're gone. It was weird, though, Tobin, because if he wanted to play for the Dolphins, right? He decided, all right, I'm going to come back this year. There would have been communication there. He would have had Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, or somebody, his manager, whoever, contact the Dolphins and say, hey, just so you know, I'm going to apply for reinstatement. I'd like to come back and play for you. And even if it wasn't necessarily his main objective to come back and play for Miami solely, if there wasn't mutual interest, he would have still relayed the message to them, wouldn't he? Hey, just so you know, I'm applying for reinstatement. Do with that whatever you want to do with it, right? Like, I'm happy to be here. He didn't do that. So I think for the Dolphins, this is pretty simple. Dude wants to be back in the NFL. I don't think he actually wants to play for the Miami Dolphins.
Well, there were like some screenshots. You always got to be careful with the internet and what's real and what's not real. But there were some things like perusing around Eagles like Twitter and Reddit of Mrs. Barrett basically implying they wanted to be on the Eagles. Who runs the Eagles defense? Our old friend Vic Fangio. And by friend, I mean crotchety old man who we all hate. And so do you think the Dolphins are just going to let some dude beef up Fang's defense after what seems like ended like pretty frosty? I think not. I think that was not going to happen.
Hey, Tobin, speaking of Fangs, it's 4:46. He already had his supper, right? It's almost bedtime at
the old Love and Early dinner. Yeah, the old love and early dinner. But that is that was definitely a weird story. And I guess the Dolphins, like, look, if something critical or bad happens to any of what they're already are thin pass rushing cores, I mean, maybe they could revisit this. I mean, like, hey, do you want to play football or you not want to play football? But, certainly a couple of things that the Dolphins do have going for them with their pass rush, which has not been one of the strengths of the team. But Chop Robinson has come on like crazy, as we were talking about before with last week in that performance. Bradley Chubb, maybe soon. Maybe we don't really know. Maybe it could be around the corner. So if that happens, then all of a sudden, all right, you now have this up and coming rookie, and you have an absolute established stud at it. But we don't know how I don't know how he's gonna fare coming off this. It does feel like they've slow rolled this a lot more than Jalen Phillips' injury. But yeah, man, just a very, very weird story. Very weird story.
And kind of like how we talked about in the last segment, Tobin, regarding Chop Robinson, regarding really the front four, like, we'll see how it looks today against a certainly more, let's say, respectable offensive line.
Yeah.
To say the least, compared to, like we were talking about in the previous segment. But with that being said, I don't know. I do remember last year where the Dolphins are headed to Kansas City and they're picking guys up off the street, right? Like, they signed, who was it they signed that had played here? Was it Ingram?
Oh, you're talking about last year?
Last year, right.
Yeah. They signed Brandon Ingram. Not Brandon Ingram. I'm sorry. They signed Melvin
Ingram, right? For like the second straight year off the street. He actually didn't play terrible in that play.
They had him. They had Justin Houston. They had Bobby Wagner. Like, they had all of these guys that were like, man, this is the greatest 2017 pass rush you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
But all of them were like 35, which
35.
Not everybody's Calais Campbell. So,
35 and hadn't played football in 8 months. And we're sitting on their couch eating potato chips, watching Tua fumble snaps. And then all of a sudden you're in Kansas City, you're in a playoff game. You've gotten depleted because of the injury bug and you need guys. And the only reason why I say, hey, why not bring back Shaq Barrett if obviously if he wanted to play here, is because of what happened last year. Would you rather have somebody and sign them now who kind of already wanted to be here, went through some part of a training camp with you, or at least some sort of off-season program with you, and it's week 12, 13, Tobin, at least have a couple weeks if you go on this run where it's not, hey, we're signing somebody week 18 to give us 15 good snaps. It's somebody who can actually go along the process and be a part of the process the rest of the way. So from that perspective, I was kind of down if they could make it work with Shaq. But from the other perspective of, I respect Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel saying, you don't want to be here, bro? Hit the road. See you later.
Yeah, you come back and, your contract will run out and give it a go the next year. It's cold for sure, but like, you're not going to sit here and just help your rival because the guy doesn't feel like being in Miami.
No.
It's an unfortunate thing. So what are you going to do? But anyway, Shaq Barrett, enjoy the couch, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Enjoy. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy the stuffing and all that type of stuff. Yeah. Let's get to our player to watch, which is brought to you by your Southern Lexus dealers. The Lexus December to Remember sales event is why you stay on the nice list. Find yours and get offers on select models, but only for a limited time now through January 2nd. Make it a December to remember. And as we were talking about, Jalen Waddle, absolutely fantastic. Can he have a repeat performance? Well, if he does, we may not see a Thanksgiving Waddle. This was Jalen Waddle on the celebration being on ice for a little bit because too many people requesting it.
Have you seen that Stephen Ross did the Waddle again?
I did not. Mr. Ross be hitting it, though. He be hitting it.
Are you waiting for like a huge moment, or what's going on with the Waddle?
I don't know, man. It was getting like out of hand. Like when I go out in public, people be trying to tell me to do it. So it's just like,
So are you saying you're retiring the Waddle?
I don't know, retiring. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's retiring, but it need a break for a little minute.
Man, this is a tough thing, Solana. I mean, it is one of my favorite things as a fan. It's the owner's favorite thing. It's kind of like when you go and see a band, but they're trying out new stuff. They refuse to play their biggest hits.
Right.
Sorry, we only want to play our new stuff. And it's like, I love Jalen Waddle. Don't get me wrong, but this is legitimately one of the most. This is one of the things that makes me happiest as a fan. Not that I can't do the Waddle, but it's. I don't know.
I don't buy it. I told you I don't buy it. I think he's gonna if he scores tonight. You're telling me, come on, Tobin, Lambeau Field, Thanksgiving night, everybody watching this game. Jalen Waddle scores a touchdown. He's not going to pull out his signature move. I don't buy it, bro. I just don't.
He's going to, if like he just dekes us all and he thinks about doing it, but then he's like, just hands the football to the ref. He goes, suckers. Thought I was going to do it, didn't you?
Can you believe people are running up to Waddle and just telling him like, hey, come on, do it. Do the thing. Do the thing.
It's the Bart Simpson meme, right? Like to the line, Bart. Hi, caramba. Yeah.
Remember the kid that went famous? He would like the backpack dance kid that he would do like the backpack floss. You know what dance I'm talking about? Not that I can do it.
No idea, dude. This feels like it might be out of my age range.
Yeah, you weren't on Vine, I guess.
No.
Woo, Tobin, my bad, bro. All right, never mind. Move on.
No, I wasn't on Vine. I used Vine.
He had one move. And it went viral. He had one move, and all people wanted Eddie. Like he blew up on Vine and on TikTok, and all people wanted to see him do was the one move. So you saw the kid. He had no like musical ability. He couldn't sing. He couldn't even dance. He could just do the one dance. So anybody that saw him, they're like, "Hey, do it, please, do it." And that's what Waddle has become. It's like, hey, we see Jalen Waddle out. We want a video of Jalen Waddle waddling.
Well, the thing is, we just waited. We know it's been the touchdowns have been few and far between. Do you feel like today we have a repeat performance from him, or do you feel like the Dolphins have kind of been spreading the wealth a little bit? Do you feel like this goes back to a cheetah game? Like, what is your initial thought? What does your like gut tell you as far as like the breakout guy from that receiving core? Because obviously there's been Jonnu games.
Yeah.
Waddle needed one of these. I mean, he needed what he had last week. And so I think it was great that, I think you could even see it in the mic'd up this past week with Tua and Waddle. Like it was very necessary, but what do you does this feel like a repeats on hold, or are we going cheetah?
Okay. So you said my gut, and Tobin, my gut is just so scrambled right now that my gut is telling me nobody's having a breakout game on the receiving side.
You're very scared.
I'm scared, and I'm not necessarily saying that Tua's going to have a bad game, but if it's as cold as, well, it is. We know already. It's less than 4 hours from game time. Like, we know how cold it's going to be. And there's a potential for a little bit of snow, I believe. I can't see Tua throwing the ball 30 times, 22 times, 25 times. I just can't. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I can't. I think they're going to run the ball. So I find it possible that the Dolphins can win this game on the ground. Tua only having to throw 15 to 18 passes, nobody having gaudy numbers in the passing game, but Miami still finding a way to win, committing turnovers on the defensive end. If I had to choose somebody, I'd say it's Jonnu Smith. Underneath,
he's been
security
consistent.
blanket, he's been consistent, and Tua and him seem to have really good chemistry right now.
All right, we'll take a break here on Gameday Uncensored. The Solana mentioned it right now. It is currently 30 degrees in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The feels like is 17. And if you guys haven't heard of the numbers, the Tua numbers in the cold, wow, they are bad. But he seems like a man who's been through some stuff. Maybe this is a man who is hardened and will prove us all to look a fool. We got to find out. Gameday Uncensored rolls on after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line at
an Odyssey sports station.
Powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
Thanksgiving. It's a glorious tradition made up of turkey, cranberry sauce, sweet potatoes, hot buttered rolls, pie, and long naps. And football. And this year, the Dolphins are playing a holiday game tonight in brisk, chilly Lambeau Field against the Packers. Mike McDaniel on playing on Thanksgiving.
What are we talking about? We're talking about playing a football game in a really, really cool environment. One that, I think out of all the places to play in the cold weather, you think about the cold probably the least in Lambeau. You can't escape the history. And, I know our guys are going to be juiced for just the opportunity to play on Thanksgiving. I think that's a big deal to a lot of people.
And Tua's thoughts.
I think the players look at that as a great honor, great opportunity. The reason I say that is because a lot of us grew up watching primetime football. And on Thanksgiving, a lot of times you'd see the Cowboys play, you'd see the Packers play, the Lions play, and to be able to have that opportunity to play in a primetime game at night at a historic field, I don't think any of the guys take that for granted.
Gather round your audio device. We're going to serve up our thoughts and opinions on the Dolphins and Packers. This is Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans, with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. We will be joined by Adam Beasley this hour. And we will talk all things Dolphins and Packers with our man from Pro Football Network, Adam Beasley. Omar Kelly will join us in the final hours of today's program. Dan Day producing us. Dan, what is the post-game situation for today on this Turkey Day? I'm sure the drinks will be flowing for our listeners. So if they want to tune in and react to this game, how can they do so with you, my friend?
So thankful. Get loaded up. Enjoy the game. You can give us a call even afterwards. We'll be ready for you starting at 11 o'clock, going till 1:30, and you never know. We'll see.
When you say get loaded up, enjoy the game, you're talking to the listeners or you're talking about your own experience today, Dan?
I was talking about get loaded up on food.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
Thanksgiving, bro. Come on. But yeah, seriously, feel free to call no matter what state you're in.
This has to be the latest I've ever waited to drink alcohol on Thanksgiving. I mean, yep. I stayed dry today, Tobin, but usually by now, like I'm throwing down some coquito. I've got a little vino in me as well, but I've stayed stayed sober as of right now.
I'm proud of you for being a grown up. Good for you, Solana. You've been managing to go. We'll see. It might let Beasley take over and do the work and then throw some back, and then we'll see what happens in hour number 3. Who knows?
I mean, I want to be prepared for what's to come at 8 p.m. You know what I mean? Like I want to make sure I'm feeling I'm in the right state of mind. This game's too important. This game's too important to not be.
I got to be honest with you because I'm in the garage studio right now, everybody. And so I don't know, it's a party right now at the Tobin household. We got the turkey and everybody. I mean, this is not like the situation. I love having a ton of people over here for a game of this magnitude.
Right.
But we got to just do it. We'll weather through. I'm pretty sure my father-in-law is going to be already passed out on the couch. He has had a lot of drinks. So we'll have to, I'm sure, bypass him as we're watching this game. But look, this is what we're all excited about. We have a Dolphins game. There was a point we thought the season might have been headed to Tankville. There was a point where we're like, we don't know where this is going to go. People wanted jobs. People wanted to have consequences, and understandably so. The Dolphins, to their credit, have battled back. and have used the advantages of their last 3 opponents. They've righted some things on the offense. Tua has balled out. Anthony Weaver's defense has played really well, and they have put themselves in position to have an opportunity to have this last month plus of the season mean something with this win, if they can get this win.
Yeah, and I think they deserve credit, Tobin, for whatever it is they've done for the last 3 weeks, whether it is real and it's substantial, or whether it's not if they don't win this game, which is how it's going to be viewed. And I don't know if that's necessarily fair, because it is the NFL. It's hard to win. It really is. I know it's cliche, but it really is. And the Dolphins this season easily could have ended up looking like how the Raiders season is going, or how the Titans season, even though they just won. But you know what I mean? Like this could have spiraled. And I think there's a certain amount of respect that should be shown for not letting it get out of hand, and at the very least giving us a game like this that matters, that puts them back in serious talks to at least be in the hunt.
It's a golf clap. It's not a round of applause. It's not a standing ovation. It's a golf clap. Like, you know what? Hey, good job. You guys kept it going. But they know. Everybody knows. Like, there's nothing to run from with this. We all know that they have things that they have not proven as a regime yet. And when we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk this under the guise of Mike McDaniel with Tua Tagovailoa, this construction of the roster.
Yeah.
We know what their kryptonite has been. We know that they have been exposed every single time. And so this is in a way a big opportunity, because all right, you've worked your way up to this, but this is to show, like, can you get through this level to get people to really buy in? And one of the big things is the cold weather. They suck in cold weather, particularly Tua. This is a breakdown from Joe Shad of the Palm Beach Post. Tua, in his career, is 0-6 when the kickoff is 46 degrees or colder. Even in degrees of 55, he's 3-12. 2 of those are against the Jets. One of those, you remember that one at Washington. This is pre-Jay Daniels.
Yeah. So this is last year. They beat the Jets on Black Friday. Very next week, they're at Washington to face the Commanders.
But when it gets real cold, he doesn't win.
Nope.
And when we talk about the Dolphins and we're using code because it's Tua. Like, that's just it. We're talking about the quarterback, our lovely lefty quarterback who has been dialing up, just named AFC Player of the Week, deserved. Great game last week. He does look like he's improved some things. He does look more elusive at extending plays and all that type of stuff. I'm a big Tua fan. But if you don't think this is a thing that everybody worries about when he plays, it is. And anybody who wants to sugarcoat it, and anybody who wants to say, oh, it's not really a thing. No, you sound like a loser. You sound like a loon. I can say this admittedly as a fan of the guy. I don't trust him in cold weather. And I don't know if he can do it in cold weather. I need to see it. I need to see it. We all need to see it.
I'm scratching my eyes out on social media this week, seeing the amount of people putting together these stupid Twitter threads about how it's all facade. It's not a real thing. It's a made-up narrative. It's an agenda-driven narrative. And I just don't understand it, man. I was in Tennessee before McDaniel got here. I was in Tennessee, Tobin. I watched the Dolphins blow their last playoff chances against the Tennessee Titans. And I saw literally the worst quarterbacking performance I've ever seen by anybody live. And it was Tua Tagovailoa in like 42-degree weather. It really wasn't that cold, but he couldn't grip the ball. He had a couple brain-scratching or head-scratching plays. And from that moment, I said, dude, this guy can't play in cold weather. Then he did the Maryland thing, and he told us he's up in Maryland, and he's throwing with his brother. And we're like, okay. And then we've seen it now.
To be fair to his brother, who was at Maryland, he was the all-time Big Ten passing leader. So, like, his brother figured it out.
He did.
It's not warm in Maryland, but we don't have Talia. We have Tua.
Not like they're exactly playing a lot of late December, January 1st games in Maryland.
I think his brother's in Canada now, so he's really having to prove it.
CFL, but I looked up his numbers. He hasn't been playing. Well,
I think he was a practice squatter. I don't think he plays that much. Tua, this was him after the win against the Patriots, and he said he is ready to kill all those narratives.
You mentioned the significance of the coming game. What do you think about maybe playing in some cold in Green Bay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to kill narratives, so let's go. Bring it on.
It's admittedly a Goosey's quote. I love it. I love the confidence, bordering on arrogance for him. It's a great thing. He did say something that was interesting before we get to Adam Beasley. And he did say that the Kansas City game has kind of changed his perception of cold. And ergo, he is not going with as much equipment for this game. Here was Tua on no need for gloves in this game.
Yeah, probably no glove this time. I think for a lot of our guys that were able to play in the game last year against Kansas City, kind of gave you a different perspective of what cold really was.
So there you go. So maybe this is a battle. This isn't Maryland. He's like, I've really been to the tundra, frostbite game against KC. No glove.
So let me get this right. He spent 4 hours in real cold. So now 28 degrees and wind isn't cold to him anymore. Is that what I'm hearing now, Tobin? He spent 4 hours in Kansas City below freezing temperatures, below zero. It really was bad. So all of a sudden, those 4 hours have changed his perception and his senses. So 20 degrees today and wind isn't going to feel cold to him.
That's right.
Okay. Good luck, Tua. And guess what? Maybe you like cocky Tua. This right here will turn into a very, very, very overused soundbite if the Dolphins don't win this game today.
Totally
I just want to let you know, he gave people so much material to use against them with that quick little soundbite if he can't get the victory today, and he looks porous as he's been in these cold weather games.
A man who is good no matter the weather, Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network. He joins us next.
WQAM, broadcasting live from the Ed
Now let's get back to Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back in, everybody, to Game Day Uncensored here on a Thanksgiving. The Miami Dolphins getting set for the Green Bay Packers, and we are joined by our guy Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network. Bees, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. I'm thrilled to watch some football today.
I cannot wait. We got it. It feels like the primo game out of today, which is exciting. But before we get into this, what is number one draft pick for Adam Beasley on Thanksgiving? What is your favorite thing, the thing you are the most looking forward to diving into on the meal table? What do you got, buddy?
Can we do one on the power ranking and last in the power ranking?
Yes.
Okay. Number one, and this might ruffle some feathers, I really love me some green bean casserole.
Oh.
I like the little French onion crunchy stuff on top. The cream of mushroom soup. That is some comfort food. My wife does not make the green bean casserole. I am not a happy man. The last on the list of power rankings of Thanksgiving food is easily sweet potato casserole. That is disgusting.
Whoa.
It is essentially dog food. I don't want to mix potatoes and marshmallows. Gross.
Wow.
When I was a kid, my mom made me eat that nonsense. I'd hold my nose and shove it down my throat. I couldn't have dessert if I didn't have it. I'm scarred for life. If I see sweet potato casserole on the table, I won't even eat the meal. It is so disgusting.
But it's delicious, Bees.
It's not delicious. I don't
good,
like that
dude.
stuff,
But
okay?
you just
not good.
So you just don't like sweet potato?
No, I'll have like a good baked sweet potato with maybe a little cinnamon on top. But I don't just the consistency, the taste.
Okay, so you don't like marshmallows then? I mean, Bees. If you love marshmallows and you love sweet potato, how do you not like them together? I don't understand that.
Yeah, some things are not meant to go together. Those two, in my book, are number one on the list. It's absolutely inedible for me.
I gotta tell you, you came strong. You came strong with a controversial Thanksgiving take. I love this, dude. Another thing that hasn't really gone together: the Dolphins and cold. And this is going to be a big proving ground for them. I mean, this is everything they need to prove. Cold weather, on the road, good team, prime time. It's all there for them. They got a chance to even up their record. Of all of these obstacles, what do you think is like the toughest, just outside of just the matchup of team? Is there a narrative thing that you're most interested in the Dolphins overcoming?
Yeah, I mean, the cold. Wind and cold combined, we'll see how windy it is. There's supposed to be some wind. I like that. Wind is the most disruptive element, I think, of all of them, including rain, snow. I mean, I don't think you can ever compare anything to what we saw in Kansas City last year. I mean, that was a black swan event. We'll never see. It was like the fourth coldest game in the history of the league. So it's not going to be nearly that bad, but it's still not going to be warm by any stretch of the imagination. I think the game time wind temps. Wind chill is like 13, 14, something like that. It's cold up there in Green Bay, and I don't envy my colleagues who are there right now. I am very thrilled to be doing this covering this game from the Parkland Bureau, no doubt about that. So here's some stats for you that were in my game preview at Pro Football Network. They are 5-14 in the McDaniel era against teams 500 or better entering the game, 5-14, with an EPA of negative 90.79. I mean, their offense does not function really against good teams. That's number one. Number two, you mentioned cold weather. 2-10, including the playoffs, when the game time temperature is 55 or below. Tua has never won when it's 40 or below. He's 0-4. And bad in prime time under McDaniel, 3-9, including the playoffs. All three of those things are converging against, by the way, a team that might be the third or fourth best team in the NFC, if not the entire NFL. Like, you go and look at Green Bay, they are solid top to bottom. Offense, defense, everything they do very well. They have a top 5 rusher in Josh Jacobs. They have Jordan Love, who's throwing the ball all over the place, sometimes with the wrong team. We can get into that, which might help Miami. Offense is excellent. Their defense should not be overlooked either. So this will take their best game of the year. Do I think they have it in them? Absolutely. I think they're trending in the right direction. But I do think that this will take their best effort, even more so than like that Buffalo game. I think they played, they had obviously some, breakdowns. They were right there at the end, and I don't think they played perfect. They're going to need to play, I think, even better to beat the Packers.
It's interesting, Bees, because, we talk so much about Tua and cold weather. We were talking with Gino Torretta the other day, and, I mean, the dude's a Heisman Trophy winner, so why not ask him about playing in cold weather? And, he mentioned so much about the Dolphins' offense's timing, right? And when you mix in cold weather, receivers often might, be wearing extra clothing to keep them warm. And the timing can get messed up just based on the fact that the receivers aren't as fast. And I know that sounds crazy because we literally have the 2 fastest guys on the planet, I feel like. But is it as simple as, hey, Tua's just not good in cold weather? Because it's hard for me to not buy into that narrative. I saw him in Tennessee a couple of years ago before the McDaniel era. Remember, the Dolphins went to Tennessee about 3 or 4 years ago, last year of Flo, and it was one of the worst quarterbacking performances that I've ever seen from a player, and it really wasn't even that cold in Tennessee. And I can't get that out of my head. But can it also be as simple as the timing all around is off for everybody when it's that cold of a game?
Yeah, they really – it's going to be interesting to see because since Tua's been back, they've really only had one adverse environment at Buffalo. At LA is not adverse. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, that's not a hard place to win because of there were probably more Dolphins fans than Rams
Very
fans.
wine and cheese.
Correct. Yes, LeBron up there in the skybox enjoying a fine Cabernet. So I'll be interested to see how much they minimize what they do motion wise. Like, is it going to be? Are they going to be able to get the calls in a place that's going to be really loud, really crazy? Are they going to be able? Is that timing? Are they going to need just to simplify things and go back to the basics? And honestly, to me, this is a game where you have to, rediscover that identity they had about a month ago, where they were just mauling teams on the ground. Right? I'm not saying take the ball out of Tua's hands. He's one of their 2 or 3 best players. You can't do that, but have a lot more balance than they've had. I would say even during their winning streak. Like, they really haven't run the ball much at all in those games that they've won. I think part of it's due to some injuries. Alec Ingold has been banged up. Offensive line hasn't been 100%. I don't want to hear any of those excuses. You built this offense, you believe, to be able to go on the road and win these kind of games. And you can't just be drop back and throw the ball 45 times. You absolutely can't. We have to see a healthy dose, which we have for weeks now, Devon Achane. But we need to see Jalen Wright and Raheem Mostert do a lot more than they've done. I mean, Raheem Mostert's become like the forgotten man of this offense. Like, he barely even sees the field anymore. They have not been able to run the ball with the authority and the determination that they did, I think, during a 5-game stretch that I thought, wow, and this is the McDaniel rushing attack. We talked about this, that, he envisioned when he got here in 2022, and that's kind of gone away. They've made up for it because they have all these quick passes, and teams are, they were just eating these guys alive. I mean, totally just eating them alive in the first and second levels of the defense. Are you going to be able to do that if you can't field a football to him? Like, I mean, that's the thing, is like, this offense has been, I think, not unfairly, kind of been maligned as the Bugatti, right? But if something was a little bit off, that thing's not coming out of the garage. And you can't be that in these kind of games. You have to be sometimes the F-150. It just plows through people. I mean, you've got to do that. So yeah, if you're concerned about the cold, the noise, getting plays in, the opponent, go back to what you were doing really, really well and just maul them up front.
Speaking of mauling up front, man, Chop Robinson's come along. Like, that was such an impressive performance against the Patriots, Bees. Have you, I know the metrics people have been saying, like, hey, he's been, amongst the best in the league, but you know, people want to see sacks, and like he was getting sacks. He was nearly causing turnovers. The guy's just definitely feel like he's turned some kind of a corner here. What have you seen from Chop, and do you feel like this holds up the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think that he's avoided that rookie wall. We'll see the last 7 weeks of the season if he continues to do so. I think he's had the best support system possible around him, beyond Anthony Weaver, who was a defensive lineman for years in the National Football League. Calais Campbell's in his ear all the time. You know, Jalen Phillips isn't around a ton, but when he was, Jalen Phillips is in his ear all the time. Bradley Chubb during his rehab, he seeks these guys out and is a sponge. And absolutely, he's exactly what you want to look for in a young player. Open to coaching, open to criticism, believes he can be great. I mean, you've seen the get off. He's really, really quick off the ball, and I think he's adding some variety to his game too, which is good to see. But to your point, that Patriots game was just something we haven't seen from him. And to be honest, an individual defensive performance from the Dolphins in a minute. He had 10 pressures, guys. His pressure rate was like 37%. That's like 15 to 20% is fantastic. I mean, he was every single time Drake May was dropping back, it felt like Chop Robinson was in his kitchen. So like, no, to me, the trajectory they're on, they're able to get Chubb back at some point. All of a sudden, you're thinking, hey, maybe this pass rush, which was, let's be honest, it was pretty toothless. And they're still, I think, 5th fewest sacks in the league. But they've got a guy, I believe, in Chop. I'm not putting him in the Hall of Fame by any stretch of the imagination, but they've got a guy that they can depend on going forward. And I think that's really encouraging.
Yeah, it's crazy because like the Patriots were dropping running back, tight end back just to try to keep him out of there. He was still getting there. And then, somebody else who looks really impressive. I was ripping the Jonnu package the first couple weeks of the season. And Bees, I'm an FIU guy. Like I was excited for the Jonnu package, but we didn't see it. To see his production now, is he a legitimate third option for Tua Tagovailoa moving forward? I mean, it seems like he's the number one option right now, but just moving forward, big picture down the rest of the season, like we should continue to expect this, right? Jonnu Smith getting this many targets per game.
Yeah, I'm saying pause the whole way up, Solano. Okay.
Yeah, there we go, Bees. There we go. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I think he's having the best year of his career by far. Like, I think this is the perfect storm for him because let's be honest, he's still probably their number 4 option. Tyreek, Waddle, Achan's their number 3 receiver, and then Jonnu is just they don't cover the guy. And yeah, he gets open. I get it. But like, if you're going to play this umbrella coverage, cloud, whatever you want to call it, where you're just good, you can have the first 20 yards and we're going to take everything over the top of that. Durham Smythe wasn't that dude. Okay. Like we saw last year when they didn't have Jonnu able to exploit those openings in the defense. And he's producing at an incredible level, but it's because teams aren't making them their primary, responsibility to cover. Like he's not the focus of any defensive coordinator, and he's using it absolutely to his advantage. Certainly, it helps when DBs forget to cover him, like complete busts, and he's running free. I get that, but it hasn't been just that. I mean, he's getting open against linebackers, against safeties, and yeah, I mean, look, anything can happen. I think the way to beat this offense is to get pressure up the middle, right? Have a defensive tackle or blitz up the middle and see if you can, even though he's been better on the run this year, kind of get Tua off his spot. But it's also to maul the wide receivers. Like you saw what the Chiefs did last year in their playoff game. What did Ladarius Sneed do? He jammed my ass to Cancun, in the words of Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's really what defenses want to do against these guys. But you can't do it against everybody. Like you can't have 4 dudes jammed at the line of scrimmage. You just can't do it. And so there's going to be opportunities, I think, which to me, and I think we've talked about this in the show previously, I think what they're doing now is way more sustainable than what we saw the first 2 years. Like, honestly, I think some of these games they've had on offense have been more impressive, in my opinion, than that Broncos game. And that's crazy to say because they scored 70. But a lot of those were just broken plays. So, like, how many running free touchdowns did they have? I mean, even Mike White got in the end, right? Was it Mike White and Robbie Chosen that had a busted 70-yard touchdown or something?
Yep. That was who can forget?
Who could forget that great combination? So I do think you're seeing an evolution in what Mike McDaniel's done, and we're going to see now. This is the ultimate test. Today is the ultimate test. Like, are they able to do all these things that I've been praising them for when it counts? Like, really? I know beating the Rams was important because they were in a complete tailspin then. The last two opponents have been really bad teams. This is as good of a team as this is the best team they're going to see the rest of the year. This is the toughest test they're going to have. It's the best team they're going to see the rest of the year. And I have no reason to believe the offense is just going to forget what they've done over the last month. I think it's going to be harder than it was certainly against the Raiders and the Patriots, but it's not going to be impossible.
We got more to come with Adam Beasley right here on Game Day, Uncensored, right here on 560 WQAM.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line at 305.
Everybody, it is game
Now, let's get back on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmorsesawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
Uncensored here on 560 WQAM on a beautiful Thanksgiving, getting you ready for Dolphins and Packers from Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra. We got Omar Kelly coming up later on in the program, but we continue our conversation here with our other insider from Pro Football Network, Adam Beasley. You can go follow his work at Adam H. Beasley, and he does a fantastic job joining us each and every pregame, getting you ready for Fins action. You've covered this team a long time, Bees. So you know how this is with the fan base. Like they want to love them, but they're used to getting snake bit. If they don't win this game, do you feel like the fan base will ever have trust in this regime again? Because it's like, all right, we understand you went through some adversity. It's been a wholly disappointing start of the season. You're starting to suck everybody back in. But if you embarrass me on a national holiday, I don't know how I can trust you ever again. Do you feel like the stakes are almost just as high for like morale of the fan base and ownership and all that stuff as it is just for the locker? Because the locker room's going to say if they lose, they'll say all the right things. Hey, maybe you could squeak in, but like you said, they need a prove it game. They need to go and show everybody like they're for real.
Yeah, and they've never done that, like ever. I think the closest they've had two games, like the two best, most memorable wins McDaniels had is that Ravens comeback, which God bless them, that was a phenomenal
that was a great game.
Again, a lot of busts. Like I don't know what they were thinking in Baltimore, but playing single high safety up 3 touchdowns is a terrible idea. Okay, still, an incredible comeback for the Dolphins, and then the Cowboys game last year, and that was more of a grind it out, back and forth, win at the end type of game. But were the Cowboys even that good? And that was at home, So football is meant to be played late in the season in adverse environment. Like it's just what the game is, particularly with how the AFC is constituted now. You look at all the teams, who's really good that doesn't play in bad weather? Like, are the Chargers really good? Nah, they're okay. Are the Texans really good? Nah, they're okay. And I think you can throw the Dolphins into that group as well. All the really good teams play in crappy weather, okay? So unless the Dolphins get the 1 seed, which obviously isn't happening this year, and it's really hard to build an entire, organizational plan around going 14-3 in the regular season, ensuring home field advantage so you don't have to go on the road, okay? You're going to have to, even if it's you win the division, win the division, you get a home divisional round game. More likely than not, you're not one of the top 3 seeds, 2 or 3 seeds. To get to where you want to go, you're going to have to win these games. And for anyone beyond the diest of diehard Dolphins fans to believe that this is something this is a nucleus that can go and win those games, they have to go and win those games. Like they have to be able to, before you even think about January, you got to take care of November. And that's where we are. We're the 28th of November, and it's the entire country in about an hour is going to watch, or whatever it is, going to watch these guys go out there and play. And if they lay an egg, it's going to be the same old frauds. I mean, that's what the storyline is going to be. Same old frauds, beat up on the bad teams. You face a good team in adverse conditions and you fold.
Yeah, I know how this ends, unfortunately. But Bees, I'll throw this question in there because, I hear so much that Tua is criticized unfairly around nationally. He's not respected. And I agree in parts. And I think part of it is the way that Brian Flores treated him and the way that people view him because of the concussion stuff. And then you kind of look at Jordan Love, and I mean, the dude played like 10 good games last year. He won a playoff game, and he got paid. Is there a conversation to be had that Jordan Love is the better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa? I know it's not something people like to debate because who cares? But who is the better quarterback stepping out on the field in your eyes?
Oh, certainly Tua is the more polished quarterback at this point. I think Love's upside is the moon, but it's the same conversation we've had, feels like, for 5 years now about Justin Herbert. Like, at some point, you can't take away from Tua what he's doing. And I think we talked about this last week, is like 75% completion plus since he's returned. What is it? 10 touchdowns, 1 interception since his return. They've scored 23 or more, and then their 2 losses where they both had 27 in those games. Offense is definitely not an issue here in Miami when he's going good. But I think it goes back to the last data point we had, is like, show me when it really matters. Like, this is great. Tua is the 1 p.m. Sunday MVP. You get that guy in 1 p.m. Sunday games, and there is no one in the league that can touch him. Okay. Fortunately, 5:25 and 8:15 are when people care. They don't care about 1 o'clock on Sundays. They care about 4:25 and 8:15. And what time is this game today? 8:15. Okay. So yeah, did the Packers win a playoff game? I have to remember. Did they win a playoff game?
They beat the Cowboys on the road. I mean, it's not looking as impressive now as it was a year ago, but still, they won a playoff game.
Sure.
Not
so
nothing.
yeah, Jordan Love definitely has that on Tua. Like, Tua folded like a cheap suit in that cold. All right. Totally has that on Tua. I think the body of work for Tua is far more impressive, to be honest. I think what he's been able to do. And again, all of this is with the caveat that his arm is not a rocket, right? He is not running a 4.3. Like, he's not one of these complete freaks that you see out there that are all over the league. But give me Tua every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Anthony Richardson, who can do all those things, right? At the end of the day, there's more than one way to play the quarterback position, and how he does it. I think Kyle Krabs, I don't know if you saw the montage of pictures he had on Twitter about all the windows that he was able to, he was throwing some of these balls he throws, like, it's 10 yards in front of, like, to the side, like it's a crossing route, and Tyreek's not even out of his break, and he's throwing it to the middle of the field with straight at 3 dudes. Like, it takes insane confidence, accuracy, competence to be able to make throws like that. Jordan Love ain't doing that. Are you kidding me? He's not. Sometimes it feels like Tua could run this offense blindfold because he knows exactly where everyone's going to be and where the ball needs to be. So right now I'm taking Tua, obviously, but Love's played 20 games in his career or something. Right. Let's broaden the runway a bit before we make any totally broad statements about how these guys are going to end up.
He's Adam Beasley, Pro Football Network. Always appreciate when he stops by the program. Have a great Thanksgiving, Bees. Enjoy the game.
If I see any sweet potato casserole on that table, there will be help.
All right, let's not say things we can't take back. Thanks, buddy.
Football coverage on WQAM is sponsored by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.
KIS HD2 Boca Raton, an Odyssey sports station.
Powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
Thanksgiving. It's a glorious tradition made up of turkey, cranberry sauce, sweet potatoes, hot buttered rolls, pie, and long naps. And football. And this year, the Dolphins are playing a holiday game tonight in brisk, chilly Lambeau Field against the Packers. Mike McDaniel on playing on Thanksgiving.
What are we talking about? We're talking about playing a football game in a really, really cool environment. One that, I think out of all the places to play in the cold weather, you think about the cold probably the least in Lambeau. You can't escape the history. And, I know our guys are going to be juiced for just the opportunity to play on Thanksgiving. I think that's a big deal to a lot of people.
And Tua's thoughts.
I think the players look at that as a great honor, great opportunity. The reason I say that is because a lot of us grew up watching primetime football. And on Thanksgiving, a lot of times you'd see the Cowboys play, you'd see the Packers play, the Lions play, and to be able to have that opportunity to play in a primetime game at night at a historic field, I don't think any of the guys take that for granted.
Gather round your audio device. We're going to serve up our thoughts and opinions on the Dolphins and Packers. This is Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans, with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Tobin and Solana here with you on a turkey day. Dan Day producing this little shindig here as you guys, if you're already sick of your relatives, gather around, baby. If you're on YouTube and Twitch, we're on Miami 560 WQAM. You guys can watch us streaming live on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, as we will take you guys up to kickoff. So we got ourselves a big one today, ladies and gentlemen. The Miami Dolphins taking on the Green Bay Packers. Dolphins looking to even up their record on the season as they head into the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, and it's chilly. I mean, I'm not gonna mince words with you guys. Tua is on the field, Solana. I don't know if you've seen the videos perusing social media right now, but out there in his hoodie and ski cap, just getting a little visualization of the game going on. But Uno has taken the stage, ready to rumble out there for this 8:20 kick from Green Bay.
Yes, sir, Tobin. I'm very, very interested to see how the rest of the squad looks today. Not just Tua, but I mentioned to Bees what Aronde Gadsden told us, which was that guys get obsessed with warming up their body and wearing clothes underneath their pads that it actually slows them down. So it's not just Tua, it's the rest of the squad as well, like Tyreek, Waddle. And because this offense is just so predicated on timing, like I wonder how guys are going to approach it. Do they have that same mentality Tua had, which was, yeah, this isn't Kansas City cold, so we're just going to have to bear through it.
Yeah, it's interesting, man, and this is going to be the proving ground. I will say for him, and what's been interesting about the offense lately, the run game has kind of gone sideways. I don't know what the deal is there with them not being able to find it over the last few games. It does coincide with Austin Jackson going out, so you're dealing with your first real ding there on the offensive line. We know the other guys are kind of banged up, so maybe the physicality is taking a toll. Teron Armstead is, going through this thing. He is questionable. That's kind of like the last guy, the real one we have our eye on in this when the actives come out later on this hour. But it is still, they've still done a solid job protecting Tua. Tua's done a job of being elusive, and they've really done a great job in that short passing game too, because it's not like over these it's not like over the lack of 100-yard games, like Achane has fallen off the face of the earth. Like he's still been absolutely huge in that short passing game, either finding his way into the end zone, combined 100 total yards against Las Vegas. So, they've still been able to rely on 28 to get them a lot of production.
It's why, Tobin, it is funny how we talk about, and B's mentioned it, they haven't been able to run the ball consistently, right, as they were a little bit earlier in the season over the last couple games. But in reality, what's the difference between first or second down where you pick up 5 or 6 yards with a dump off to Devon Achane and running it 6 yards, right? Like there's really no difference. The difference is Tua's taking a snap in shotgun and getting it out to Achane, and then he's able to get into open field, and it's not a handoff, but it's the same production. It's the same result, isn't it? So I'll live with that if it means that that's the way the Dolphins are going to set themselves up for better short down on third down. But either way, like in a game like this, you wonder if that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of those things. Like, it's cold. I don't know. Like, it's going to be tough to know until we get into those things, like how nasty are the conditions. I'm like looking right now. It doesn't feel like this is one of those games where it's like a crazy amount of wind going on in this situation. It's just cold. There's no snow yet. And it looks like it's probably too cold to snow. So I think it's just going to be like, all right. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I don't know if this is going to be one of those games. I think this is going to be reminiscent of like Cleveland, Pittsburgh last Thursday night, right, where it was kind of mild. And then all of a sudden they're playing in the middle of a blizzard. I think that this is probably, it's going to be miserable. I wouldn't want to be there. And I can't even imagine sitting through a game like this. I'm a soft fan. I've been through like I've been through 2 cold weather games in my lifetime, Solana, right? As a South Floridian. I went to a Jets-Jaguars playoff game at the Meadowlands as a child.
Oh my God. What a misery.
And it was miserable. The coldest I've ever been. I went with Zaslow and Joy Taylor. We went to the Winter Classic at Yankee Stadium in the upper deck. And that was legitimately the worst conditions I've ever sat. It was because a thing that's known about Yankee Stadium, windy. I mean, it like they get wind tunnels up there. Dude, my beer was frozen by the time I got back from the concession stand. Then all of a sudden we had to go get hot chocolate. They were like, the line to get hot chocolate was like Disney World. CeeLo was doing the national anthem. He got booed. Everybody was so mad to see him. So, I mean, these fans, like but they love it. There's going to be, you're going to see some crazy guy there shirtless trying to bask it all in. And of course it is. Yeah, definitely. And you got like, Matt LaFleur. He's kind of he's got one up on Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's got to start picking off. He got his guy McVay this past already. Now he's got to take out LaFleur. That's got to be the place that this goes to. Calais Campbell, of course, was a big story last week with his availability and whether or not he was going to stick around with Miami. There was a whole to-do with his story. But he's here, and he is the voice of this team, and he is very excited to get a chance to the Dolphins to prove themselves on Thanksgiving. Here's the big man, 93, on this upcoming game.
And it's special, as a kid, I grew up, watching, Thanksgiving football, and imagine playing on Thanksgiving. And, I've played on Thanksgiving before, but it's always special. It's very, very special. And then also we're playing in one of the most historic, stadiums, that's ever been built, the frozen tundra, and so it's going to be fun, I've always liked those big games where the lights are bright and everybody's paying attention. It's nice to know that probably, all the people I grew up in my hometown in Colorado are probably going to be watching, all my friends through college and everything else. I mean, it's just these kind of games are special in that way. So, it's motivation to go out there and play really good ball. But really, this team and where we're at right now, we need to win, and we got to stay hungry. Obviously, the last couple weeks have given us a chance to make these games matter. And these games definitely matter, but those things don't mean anything if we don't get this one. So we just got to keep, the same mentality we've been having, preparing at an elite level, focus, details, and doing what's required for us to win the ball game.
There you go, Calais Campbell on this upcoming matchup. Do you worry, Solana? Because the offense has been humming. But obviously, you know, they got some proof to go. Is there a side of the ball you're more worried about? Because this is as potent an offense as they're going to face, especially with the balance that they have with Josh Jacobs and probably the best running back they face all season. So is there a proving ground on one side of the ball or not you actually have more concern in, or does it just is the obvious answer the offense just because of the cold weather trait?
I mean, look, Tobin, I could, if you wanted me to, and I think any Dolphins fan could, right? Like I saw the comparisons on each side of the football, and offensive production, Packers 5th in the NFL entering tonight. Passing offense, they're 11th. Probably not a fair stat because Jordan Love missed 4 games or 3 games. Rushing offense, they're 3rd. We know all about their rushing attack. And then scoring offense, they're 8th. So, I mean, this is a potent offense. That's fair. A top 10 offense in the NFL. So there's certainly questions on the defensive side. Is this front, as we were talking about earlier, going to be able to muster up that same amount of confusion and just chaos in the backfields for Jordan Love as they did with Drake May and as they did for Matthew Stafford? Like, we'll see. And I think it's going to be an important part of today. How are they stacking up against Josh Jacobs and this rushing attack? Are they going to be able to hang without their starting linebacker, who really is their second string linebacker? Like, there's a lot of these questions. No Kendall Fuller once again. Is Javon Holland right? Like, those are all fair. Jordan Poyer, just get the hell out of the way. Don't do anything. But Tobin, I mean, this game hangs in the balance of the offense. If they lose this game, unless they give up 60 points or 50 points, who's getting the blame? It's the offense. It just is. Whether or not it's fair, we're going to judge Tua based on how this team performs today. And, you know, I think there's an argument to be made, as I just did on the defensive side, but the one I'm most concerned about is the offense because, I mean, we've talked so much about how well they've looked over 3 weeks, specifically the last 2. And if they can't produce those types of numbers, similar numbers, whether or not it's because of the cold, whether or not it's because of anything else, any outside factors, it's going to be a huge disappointment.
One of the things they do have to watch out for, you know, you mentioned the offense, Xavier McKinney, Tua's former Crimson Tide teammate. He spoke of this week because McKinney right now currently one of the leaders in the league of picking the football off, the great Green Bay safety. This was Tua on their time together wearing the Crimson Tide.
You know, I had X and I was with Josh Jacobs at the same time. So knowing the competitive mindset that those guys have, those are fun practices. But being able to go against those guys, I know X knows what he's going to get out of me, and I know exactly what he's going to bring to the table too. You know, with Josh as well, like we came from the same school, so you know the mindset that those guys are going to bring every time, you know, they see a fellow Alabama player. But yeah, I'm super happy for X and the success that he's found, as well as Josh. But you know, I'm looking to mitigate that success when we play against them.
One of the things that's also key here, Solana, if Tua can have a clean game, we talk about that turnover margin, and you mentioned Jordan Love, and his numbers are fantastic. But one thing that he does do, he turns over the football. Yeah. All right. He's tied for second right now. You mentioned that's with the missed time that he's had. He'll throw it up there. And so there could be some opportunities there for the defense to turn the football over. And man, the offense has to take advantage. If they get those gifts, if they get those opportunities, if he presents them with a situation, they can't blow that. Not in prime time, not on the road. You have to take those to the bank. You cannot just squander those opportunities if Jordan Love does present those for you.
I know, you know, Tobin, it's interesting because you look at the Packers record right now. They're in the toughest division in football. But, bro, imagine being 8-3. You've missed 3 games for Jordan Love. You just got paid. There's a ton of pressure on you to live up to Aaron Rodgers. A ton of pressure on you to live up to Brett Favre, right? You're 8-3, and in really only your second year starting, and you're in 3rd place in your division. Like 8-3, and you're in 3rd place. So there's a lot of pressure on him. And I know their record looks good, but bro, they squeaked it out against Chicago 2 weeks ago. Squeaked out a victory 20-19. They squeaked out a victory against the Jaguars 30-27 as well. And
the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm just saying the Dolphins right now, the Dolphins are trending upwards. And I know it's easy to say, well, the Packers just came off a victory against the 49ers, but bro,
was that a McCorkle Jags game that they snuck out, or was Trevor Lawrence still playing for him?
I think that was the last game Trevor Lawrence played, actually. I think that was the last one. All I'm saying is, Tobin, like, some of their victories are impressive this year, but most of their impressive victories came without, like, just the fact that they were missing their quarterback and they were able to win those games. So this isn't an 8-3 team that's impossible to beat at home. It's not. They beat the Colts 16-10 this year. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain games where you say, wow, the Dolphins played the Rams better than the Packers did, 24-19. I mean, this is a winnable game for Miami.
Yeah, I think it's winnable. I think that the way they played against Buffalo on the road gives me more confidence. That because they played that game basically to a push, and they lost on a 61-yard field goal. So that showed me more than anything that I think they can hang. Because if you can hang with Buffalo, I think you can hang with about anybody in the National Football League right now, and they did hang in that game. Now it's frustrating they could never beat them, and the thing is, right now they can't afford hanging with Green Bay. Like, it would have been nice if you would have given yourself some grace, and we could have said, you know what, you hung with Green Bay, you lost tough. You can't right now. You really don't. The chase to get into the playoffs is too crunched up there to just deal with a moral, attaboy, good road performance, everybody, but we lost. I don't know who that is, but that little conscience, that little Dolphins conscience that like would look on the bright side of things.
Mr. Moral Victory. Moral Victory.
You can't afford that anymore. There's no, you blew that. That was Buffalo. You had your, you showed tough that you had that already. This you have to win. You have to, if you're going to, the time's running out. Time's a ticking. It's not just about proving, but it's also about keeping your playoff hopes alive. So I mean, you cannot stress this enough. This is an absolute monster coming up for the Miami Dolphins right here at Green Bay. By the way, Game Day Uncensored brought to you in part by your self-loaded Chevy deals. You're looking for more power, capability, and technology. With Chevy trucks, you're ready for anything. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. We will take a break.
Tobin, really quickly before we go to break, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I too bared through the elements. 2017, it was the end of the 2016 season. Adam Gase's first year as a head coach. We bought into Adam Gase. Me and my boys, we had season tickets. We traveled to Pittsburgh, wild card round at Pittsburgh. Single digits with the wind chill, brother. First time I had ever experienced snow my entire life, born and raised in Dade County. I didn't know what sleet was until this week. Hawk had to explain it to me. I literally had no idea what sleet was. And when I tell you, it was the most miserable experience of my life. By the end of the first quarter, Matt Moore has died on the field. Antonio Brown has 6 touchdowns, and I can't feel my toes. Miserable.
Wow. We got some more keys to the game for your Miami Dolphins. Plus, we have Thanksgiving action going on right now. If you guys missed the 1 o'clock game, it was, an all-time coaching flub. We cannot. Hey, Mike McDaniel, I hope you didn't watch it. Don't even get that in your head what Matt Eberflus did today. I was trying to listen to his explanation. I'm even more angry about what happened. And I'm not even a Bears fan. Take a break. More to come here on Game Day Uncensored after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the Ed Moore
Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on a Turkey Day. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. We're streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, the channel Miami 560 WQAM, and on the Odyssey app. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. Dan Day producing for us here today. You can hear Dan today on the post-game edition of Game Day Uncensored. Give us a time again, Dan, for our listeners just tuning in when they can react to today's action at Lambeau Field with you today.
No matter what, 11 p.m. Eastern time till 1:30 and not a minute less.
There you go. All right, so tune into that later on today as we have all this coverage for you locally here on this Turkey Day. Miami Dolphins playing on Thanksgiving here and getting ready to get after it. Let's get to some keys to the game here, Solana, brought to you by Doral Hyundai. At Doral Hyundai, choose from over 1,300 new Hyundai models in inventory like the Tucson, Sonata, and Palisade. Remember, when it comes to Hyundai, the great deals are at Doral Hyundai. And one of the things, we kind of mentioned this last segment, Solana, but Jordan Love, as talented as he is, he'll throw that puppy up there for grabs.
Yeah.
And this feels, to me, like one of those games. Snowman, Storm Duck, Jalen Ramsey, probably not Jordan Poyer. Eyes got to be on the QB because there could be an opportunity for a big moment for the Dolphins to steal momentum in a game like this, which feels huge, Solana. Like, this is one of those games, you know, one of the things that's frustrating when we've talked about these big-time matches, we build that false sense of hope up. Man, they almost feel like they're over before they begin, too.
Right.
You know, like, and so I would just love if the Dolphins could throw the first punch in this, whether that be a turnover, whether that be scoring on the first drive. I just feel like that fast start is of monster importance for this Dolphins team, just to settle in and not have the crowd on them already, not feel like they're playing behind the eight ball, not make Tua play from outside his own means. That's also when, you know, things get a little bit screwy and he'll throw up a duck and somebody can pick it off. So I feel like the fast start is huge and key here.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't want the wheels to fall off. You want to avoid disaster by any means necessary, especially early on. You think back to Buffalo week 2, but I can go beyond that, Tobin. Think about the Packers. The last time the Dolphins played the Packers, Christmas Day 2 years ago, where, I mean, it was 2 of the worst interceptions, I believe, in the same quarter in that second half that you've ever seen Tua Tagovailoa throw. You can avoid you have to avoid that today. But I am with you. Throw the first punch for sure. But if the defense can make some momentum swinging plays, they haven't been great at takeaways this year. Now's the effing time to come up with a big time takeaway. Now's the time to come up with that strip sack, get into the backfield, force Jordan Love to throw it somewhere where he doesn't want to throw it. And I also see third down being huge. I know Adam Beasley mentioned how good the Dolphins have been on third down this year. But on the defensive side of the ball, Tobin, they're really good there as well. They're second in the NFL in third down yards allowed. So fewest allowed. They're second best in the NFL. So if they can, even if there aren't any game-changing plays, momentum-swinging plays, and it's more of a methodical approach as we've seen from Miami, if they can win that battle, convert their third downs, keep the distance short on the offensive end, and keep the Packers from converting more third downs than they do, it might be that simple, right? Like, that might be the path to victory.
Oof. Feels like 15 in Green Bay. Cold.
Not good.
Another man who's probably going to be left out in the cold in Chicago, Matt Eberflus. So your scores right now in some Thanksgiving action. Right now in Dallas, the Cowboys are up 13-10. They had a big pick 6 in that one. Drew Lock is your quarterback for the Giants today, as Tommy DeVito was unable to go for this game. So Jersey's finest was not able to suit up for the Giants. Cooper Rush, he's thankfully I don't have I'm not watching much of this. I did walk in though and see the pick six where it was deflected, and but right now not exactly a thrill. But hey, here's the thing, neither was Detroit and Chicago. Chicago could not move the football at all in the first half, and then they nearly came back and won it against Detroit. Notice I said nearly, because for some reason they decided, I don't really feel like, taking as many cracks at this win as possible. They end up losing 23-20. I had to hear what this Eberflus had to say after the game, Solana. All right, so let's hear our Bears head coach here and what he had on his explanation for he mind you guys, they lost 23-20. The time runs out. He had a timeout in his pocket. No reason for it. And
they go hurry up on the last play. Like they don't use the timeout, which is why it's mind numbing.
It's crazy.
The Caleb Williams has the ball 5 seconds to go. They only need like 4 or 5 yards, maybe 6 or 7 to get into field goal range. You call timeout, you throw a little out route, you try to at least you know what you're doing. You have a second to kind of figure out what it is you're doing. Instead, he hikes the ball 5 seconds left, holds on to it until there's 2 seconds left, and then throws it, and the game's over.
It made no sense whatsoever. No. Like, they just let 30 seconds just go by. They definitely, if they just take the time out, you might have had 2 cracks. You would have had 2 cracks at it for sure. Just chucking it down easily.
For sure.
Anyway, here's Matt Eberflus. This was his explanation.
We're there at 2nd and 20. Take the sack right there. And, so we're at 36 seconds right there. And our hope was, because it was third going into fourth, that we would re-rack that play at 18 seconds, throw it in bounds, get it into the field goal range, and then call the timeout. And that's where it was, and that was our decision-making process on that. Again, we were outside the field goal range, so we needed to get a few more yards in there, as close as we can get, and then we're going to call timeout, and that's why we held that last timeout at the end of the game. So, like I said, disappointing for the players. They put a lot of work in a short week and put themselves in position to win that game. So with that, I'll take questions.
Yeah, when you saw the clock.
Okay. Well, they did, and you took them out. What are we doing here, dude? What?
It sounded to me, Tobin, like he was about to cry, by the way. Yeah. Did it not? He was shook. He shook up there for sure.
It's just, as a head coach, you know how, because you have so few things. Like, you prepare, you do all these things. This was like Spo the other day, right? Like, that man is great. I mean, I've never put Spo in the same conversation as Eberflus, but you have so little control in your hands. But the amount of timeouts you have is something you should know, and you should know how to use them. And for this guy to go out there and be like, we had to get it back into field goal range, is like, well, what? Come on, dude. You just took a sack. Things are scrambling. Once you're at that point and it's third and forever, your ass needs to start chucking the ball downfield. Grow up, Peter Pan. What kind of a decision is that? I don't understand it. Dan, did you were furious at this and watching this live with me. Does Eberflus make you feel any better here?
No, his excuse is actually making it worse. That we needed to burn more time and get into field goal range before we use the timeout. Well,
but what's he supposed to say? He messed up. That's it. He's telling you what. But
you know what
Tobin,
you do?
He's telling you.
But this is why he's not Eric Spoelstra. Because you want to know what Eric Spoelstra said? Hey, I effed up.
Right.
17 years. I effed up. That's what he should say.
Yeah, now, but maybe he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that 17 years of what do you call it?
Cachet, Tobin. He doesn't have the cachet.
But when you blow it, you blow it. There's no this hocus pocus that he's trying to. I don't know. Whatever. I wanted to throw it.
I'm with you.
Television.
I'm not defending Matt Eberflus, by the way. This always happens where it sounds like I'm defending the person. I'm not. I'm just pointing out what he goes up there. He tells you, "Hey, I effed up." Well, yeah, we know you did. He's telling you what he hoped would end up happening on the play. But guess what? It didn't happen. You blew your team's chances to go and win that football game when, like he said, they put themselves in a position to do it. So that's bad, bro. That's worse than Cristobal, I think. Maybe not, because Cristobal had the victory. There's a little bit of a difference, but it's up there for sure.
It's up there, dude. We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. More to come. We'll find out who is good to go for your Miami Dolphins as we keep counting down to Dolphins and Packers from Lambeau Field. Back with more after this.
Football coverage on
Censored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Edmore's is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored. I don't mean to toot my own horn, everybody. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I just carved a bird in the middle of that commercial break. Family's ready to feast, ladies and gentlemen. I made it here.
Tobin. Tobin.
I made it here barely. I was like, oh, yeah, I might have to call somebody in the bullpen to carve this bird.
But what do? You go electric carver or you go all natural?
All natural, dude. Just give me a big poker and a big knife, and I'm ready to roll, dude. I do not have an electric carver. But I will say my wife cooked that thing tender, dude. It was falling off the bone. So
in the oven, she throws it right in the oven.
Right in the oven, dude. No fried turkey. We do oven. She does the whole marination. It's been a few days process of this thing, and it is. Wow. It is pristine.
I'm jealous because you know what the Solanas are doing.
What's that, dude?
Just picking it up right from the store, baby, ready to go, sliced and everything, baby. Yeah.
Well, so like, is that the plan going? Like, are you gonna because you just bought a home, you and your lovely fiance. You guys are married, yet, right?
No, I'm not married. Not married.
Living in sin. I love it. All right. So you guys are you gonna do hosting of Thanksgivings in years future? Is that the plan, or no? This is always gonna be. We're picking it up. Katie.
Yeah. No, we're going to my parents' house. They do Thanksgiving every year. Casa Solana, and my mom doesn't cook. My dad sure as hell doesn't cook. This is what they do. They order a turkey. They order a bird. It's diced up for them already. It's been seasoned. It is literally ready to serve. And some might call it phony, Tobin. That's fair. I'm willing to hear you out, but it's delicious as hell every time. It really is.
Man, it is something. I'm looking right now some video from Lambeau. We got shirtless workouts going on right now. Solana, they're trying to show bravery, and by the way, pristine today. The jerseys coming out. The old throwbacks.
The white ones, baby.
The white throwbacks. White throwback Miami Dolphin. Love it. I do feel like they've disgraced them a little bit recently. So I would like them to have a great performance in these jerseys. These are my favorite. I wish they would be permanent. I don't want to have this debate because we have them all the time. I feel like I've made my point here, Solana. But, God, I love them. I love the throwbacks so much.
Yeah, we've done this conversation a million times. This is what they should be playing in permanently, but it does make it feel a little extra special when they throw these out there, Tobin. And there's something about it, right? Lambeau Field, Thanksgiving Day, in the clean white-on-white aqua throwback jersey. Like,
yeah, dude. Something about it. There's something about it. I cannot wait for this matchup here today. I really just want this. I want to have everybody have something to look forward to this last month. Right. Like that's what we have going on here. I do not want this to be a month of because that's what it's going to be. We're going to have do we have a month ahead of like genuine excitement, or do we have a month ahead of like and that's what feels like on the line here. And as Tua mentioned, he's like, hey, we got to kill some narratives. He knows. He's not running from it. I appreciate that from him. We've had a man who has grown up before our very eyes. He's obviously had a very tough year because he had to go through a nasty concussion, then was probably benched more than he wanted to be. Was saying that he doesn't want to be the face of concussions. Well, I'll tell you another thing you don't want to be the face of. You don't want to be the face of can't win in the cold, Tua. Because you right now are the face of that. When they're talking about can't win in the cold, can't win in the elements, can't do it in harsh conditions, they're talking about you. All right? They're not talking about Devon Achane. They're not talking about the Cheetah. They're not talking about Jalen Waddle. Yeah, they may have a part in it, but they're talking about you. So do you want to not be the face of being a warm weather quarterback, or do you want to be a guy who can get it done anywhere? That's what he needs to change. He's got many things he's trying to squash this year, Solana.
Tobin, he's far away from being a guy who can win anywhere. I mean, this would be a great step in that direction. But 1-7 in cold weather games is a hell of a lot better than 0-8 in cold weather games, man. Like by a wide margin. I mean, winless in your 8th try in a game below 40 degrees or 43 degrees, whatever the hell it is. I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do with that. I don't know. At some point, you got to figure it out, bro. And he says he's going no glove today. Fine. But
I like that.
They did the whole thing, Tobin. Remember? We want it colder, or we want to make it colder.
I wish it were cold.
I wish it were colder. There we go. Yeah, they did the whole thing, and it was cute. It was cute, Tobin. And then McDaniel's talking about throwing ice cubes today or yesterday at his players all week. Like, they get cutesy with it. At a certain point, figure it out. Figure it out. Go win a damn game, because it's embarrassing that the Miami team falls into the Miami stereotype, which is that it's got to be a 1 p.m., 92-degree day and the sun beating down on the opposition in order for them to put together a good football performance.
Yeah, it's like, Beasley said, he's the king of the 1 o'clock slate. He's become lefty Kirk Cousins. Like, that was always the knock on Kirk Cousins. Like, can't win in elements, can't win in prime time. And Kirk Cousins, I think
Tua's looked worse, though. I mean, not Tua.
Oh, I think I agree with you. I agree with you.
The Dolphins have looked worse. Not necessarily Tua always, but the Dolphins have looked worse on primetime. Maybe the record isn't as bad, but like you said, they fall on their face at some point. Like,
but I think
bad.
And I think you're right when you say, like, I think this Green Bay team is good, but I don't think they're taking on a heavyweight. To me, it's like this is almost prove you can do it. So, like, once the playoffs happen, like right now, the 1 through 3 seeds, KC, Buffalo, Pittsburgh. So odds are you're going to draw somebody in that first round. If you make the playoffs, you're going to have to show you can do it. Tonight's the night, because I don't think you're taking on a team that's necessarily better than any of those teams. Maybe Pittsburgh. Maybe.
I don't think this is a team that is in the same class as Baltimore. I don't think they're in the same class, obviously, as the Chiefs. The teams you have to go beat ultimately if you want to go on this magical run. This is a team in a tier, in a category, whatever you want to call it, a little bit below. They're good though, Tobin. Like, this isn't a criticism of Green Bay. The Dolphins would give anything to be 8-3 entering this game. Like, literally, they would give anything to be 8-3. But this isn't a true title contender just yet. This is a team trying to prove to people that they're going to take that next step. What makes this game scary more than anything is the conditions, as we're talking about, and where it's being played, and the history of that team. Let's be honest, right? Like, Thanksgiving, Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers, Thanksgiving. Like, that's what makes this game special and scary at the same time. But it's not the team itself. It's not the Green Bay Packers this year. It's not the roster this year. There's nobody on that team where you're like, oh my God, how are we going to guard this guy? How are we going to contain this guy? They don't have that player.
I mean, Josh Jacobs has been pretty good, though.
Yeah, he's good, but I mean, who are you more afraid of going up against? Josh Allen? Who are you more afraid of going up against?
Like, but Josh Allen's the boogeyman, dude. Like, that's
like
an impossible. That's you can't even comprehend beating him because he just drubs you every single time.
But what, you're losing sleep over Josh Jacobs? Come on, Tobin, give me a break, bro.
Over, but I do think you got to give him a little respect. I mean, the guy is
giving
good.
Him respect. I'm just saying that they don't have a superstar on their team. They just don't. Like, he's good. He's a Pro Bowler. He's not a superstar.
He's not a superstar. But there's very few running back superstars anymore, like Saquon, Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Like there's not many guys you're like, oh, that's that dude right now. And but he's good. He's no slouch. I mean, it's 3 tutties last week. You're not gonna sleep on anybody like that. I think the Dolphins held him pretty well last year when he was in Las Vegas. But obviously, this is not having. I don't even know who was Aiden O'Connell. Did they go against last year? I don't even remember who that was. Can't even recall. Who the hell was the quarterback that they went against?
Was it Aiden O'Connell? Oh, man.
Yeah, I was at the game, yeah.
It was
Aiden O'Connell? Yeah, I mean, terrible.
And Josh Jacob led the league in rushing one year, so he's pretty big deal.
Let us get to your active. That's a fair point, Dan Day. Let us get to your actives and actives brought to you by JM Lexus. In South Florida, when you think football, you think Miami Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes. But when you think Lexus, think JM Lexus, where we've got it all. for fall. Right now, the inactives for the Miami Dolphins: Anthony Walker, linebacker, we knew that. Ethan Bonner, still inactive. Kendall Fuller, inactive. Jack Stoll, inactive. D. Eskridge, inactive. One of the things we haven't mentioned, Solana, Tyler Huntley was elevated today off of IR.
Right.
He is the emergency third quarterback today. So he is inactive. Both QBs need to get hurt. But that was interesting because we talked about the trust that Mike McDaniel doesn't seem to really have Skyler Thompson anymore. And I think that would be very that would reflect that, to make sure they have Snoop ready to go.
I think it would make sense, right, to have Snoop ready to go. Not today in general. Obviously, he's a emergency third quarterback, but like I see it very likely that towards the end of the season, maybe by next week or the week after, Tobin, sooner rather than later, Skyler Thompson will be on the emergency third quarterback inactives list, and Snoop Huntley will be the Dolphins' backup.
That is definitely something. Now, if you'll notice, there's a couple things. Mo Kamara looks like he is going to be active today. He has not gotten a lot of run this year, but the
game,
Dolphins,
right? Third game.
Dolphins,
only?
I think it is his third game. Yeah. Dolphins rookie passer, and Teron Armstead was definitely the big one we were all waiting on. He was questionable. Thank God he's good to go.
Thank God, man.
Teron Armstead will be good to go for this game. We'll talk it all with our guy, Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald from Lambeau Field. We will take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. More to come here on the program. One final hour of coverage to get you into Dolphins and Packers. Take a break. Back with more after this on 560 WQAM.
Text WQAM 3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
Thanksgiving. It's a glorious tradition made up of turkey, cranberry sauce, sweet potatoes, hot buttered rolls, pie, and long naps. And football. And this year, the Dolphins are playing a holiday game tonight in brisk, chilly Lambeau Field against the Packers. Mike McDaniel on playing on Thanksgiving.
What are we talking about? We're talking about playing a football game in a really, really cool environment. One that, I think out of all the places to play in the cold weather, you think about the cold probably the least in Lambeau. You can't escape the history. And, I know our guys are going to be juiced for just the opportunity to play on Thanksgiving. I think that's a big deal to a lot of people.
And Tua's thoughts.
I think that the players look at that as a great honor, great opportunity. The reason I say that is because a lot of us grew up watching primetime football. And on Thanksgiving, a lot of times you'd see the Cowboys play, you'd see the Packers play, the Lions play, and to be able to have that opportunity to play in a primetime game at night at a historic field, I don't think any of the guys take that for granted.
Gather round your audio device. We're going to serve up our thoughts and opinions on the Dolphins and Packers. This is Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans, with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. Dan Day producing for us here as we are getting you ready for Dolphins and Packers, their Week 13 matchup right here on Turkey Day. And around this time, every single Game Day Uncensored, we talk to Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald, our guy Omar Kelly, live from the frozen tundra. What's going on, Omar? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing today? Happy holidays to you and everybody. Happy holidays. We should be hearing the Mariah Carey song. What is it, tomorrow, or she's going to wait for this evening?
She's tuning it up, man. She's ready for those royalty checks. Mariah is going to be ready. It's going to be on repeat.
But Omar, you got to wait till tomorrow because, man, like of all the things to piss people off about with the Dolphins, and you're not afraid. No. I'm just saying you're not afraid to speak your mind. Today, you're taking a sledgehammer to Turkey on social media. Like you are not backing off of your Turkey take that it sucks. People are very upset with you.
Listen, this is not my first, nor will it be my last cry for help for you people pretending that you like turkey on Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, but you know when they cook turkey and when they make turkey, only for Thanksgiving, because nobody wants to eat it any other time unless it's in some bread. No matter how you do the turkey, whether it's deep fried, roasted, air fried, however you want to do it, turkey is mediocre at best, which is why nobody eats it any other time other than on this holiday, God-forsaken holiday.
Look, it's not my favorite, but I'm up for a tradition every now and then.
Thank you for admitting that.
It's not my favorite.
Not only that,
I don't think it's anybody's favorite. But it'd be very odd
if you're going to allow me to continue. If you're going to allow me to continue, I will also make the argument that all of these sides are mediocre, whether it be mac and cheese, stuffing. How often do you eat stuffing? Tell the truth.
Never.
Do you eat stuffing only on holidays?
But I love it.
So all of a sudden, stuffing has a cottage industry for one time a year. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? A green bean pie roll.
I listened to Omar. I listened to you go on this tirade a year ago, and I got to tell you, man, after a year of listening to this, I think I'm on your side. Like, why? Well, the tradition should just be, hey, let's get together as family and once a year and be
Let's
thankful for
yeah.
whatever, right? Why do I
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
eat something that I don't want to eat every year? Like, he's so right. Tobin, he happens to be right about this. He really does happen to be right about
I
this.
don't think he is though. Like, look, we had today. Everybody brought their appetizers. We had the empanadas, the croquetas, all that stuff is brought in.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's fine.
But like,
that's fine.
to say things like mac and cheese and stuffing and
Come
sweet
on,
potatoes
come
are
on.
not delicious.
Candied
They're
yams.
delicious, dude. Oh,
Do you want candied yams year round? No, you don't.
But it's
I
good
think
for
the
us.
only side that makes it is mac and cheese. I think that's the only side that makes it any other time of year. Like,
I'm with you.
Everything else. Now, collard greens. I think we should implement collard greens into all seasons. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big fan of collard greens, and in fact, turkey. I'm a turkey instead of a ham hock with my collard greens. But come on, all these other sides. Come on, you only do them on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, gentlemen, a question.
Sure.
If I'm inviting you to my house, it's not Thanksgiving. I'm inviting you to my house, and I'm telling you, you could have your choices. Would you like me to go on the grill and barbecue some meats for you, or would you like me to have a Thanksgiving dinner and cook you a turkey? Which one would you prefer?
It's Thanksgiving, and you're inviting me over.
No. He's saying it's
No,
not
I said
Thanksgiving.
it's not Thanksgiving.
Just a
Oh, it's not
normal
Thanksgiving?
Saturday.
I'd
Yeah.
rather you just, cook steak or something like that, or a shish kebab or a burger.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
there's something
That's the
about
point.
tradition that is holy. Like, it's like, all right, this is all we're gathered around here, and we'll throw it in there. It's something different. You mix it in together. You put some gravy on it. I don't think it's just because you don't do it all the time. That's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Omar, I'm with
one of
you.
those
I'm
guys.
with you. My family has ordered a turkey, so we're eating the same turkey from the same restaurant for like the 10th year in a row. And it happens to be okay, but you're telling me if I could have rib rolls from Flanagan's today to watch the Dolphins with some chicken wings and throw in the mac and cheese, Tobin, or maybe some T-bones on the grill, you're telling me that I wouldn't be enjoying the Dolphins tonight more than with this turkey that I'm throwing gravy on? Come on, man.
Yeah,
Omar
no.
is so right about this. He's
Okay,
so
but there's-
right about this.
The whole point of it, you curmudgeons, is you have to have a giant bird to feed a lot of people. You can't have a 30-pound T-bone. Like, it just does. Like, what am I going to go kill a velociraptor? How much should I get that meat? Like, the whole point of it is we gather around, we have something we can all have together. I just fed a gazillion people with a 30-pound bird. That's the point of it.
I would rather 2 boxes of Publix chicken, brother. Like, just give me 2 boxes of Publix chicken. Problem solved.
Boom. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Much better than that turkey.
This is so silly. This is so silly. Are we deflecting because we don't want to? Are we nervous about another cold weather game? The numbers, they don't reflect well on QB1, man. He doesn't do well in this.
I don't think it's fair to put it just on him. I think his team doesn't do well in this, but I'm not worried about it. I've been outside. Yeah, it's super cold, but it's not snowing. I would worry about cold and wet balls as opposed to the cold weather. I was outside. It's kind of nippy, but I could survive. What I can't survive is a wet ball. And the worst game that he's probably played, in my opinion, not counting that Buffalo game early this season, was that Titans game in 2021 where him and Brian Flores were cursing each other out in the locker room. And that was not just snow and cold, that was wet ball. So I'm more concerned about that. And I believe the ball control style that he plays now suits more of what this December football is about and what this weather is about. And so I'm very highly confident. The one thing that I think is important is we haven't seen Tua rise to the occasion in a fourth quarter game against a very good team. And I think this is his time. I think this is his game. This is his opponent. This is, I think it's time. We've waited 5 years for this quarterback to get this good. Completing 73% of his passes, one of the more efficient quarterbacks in the NFL. Pocket presence. Nobody, but when he's not dropping the football, nobody's really rushing him or giving him problems. He doesn't turn the ball over. The question is, can he take a life? Can he kill? And I've been waiting a very long time. I think this is going to be the opponent, primarily because he knows this is Jordan Love, who happens to be the quarterback that his former head coach, the guy that he hates, wanted over him.
Omar, that Tennessee game has me scarred as well. I brought it up earlier. I mean, I always think to that, and it's why I can't forget that game, and I can't forget Tua in Buffalo a couple years ago. I can't forget those cold weather games against Kansas City last year as well. But with that being said, is this a game, Omar, where Tua has to go out there and make big plays? Because you're saying he hasn't done it in the fourth quarter. He hasn't outdueled a quarterback that's on his level or better in the fourth quarter. But isn't this a game that should be won on the defensive side and by running the football? Like, should we be expecting 200 plus yards by Tua?
Yeah, you should be expecting 200 plus yards because that's the style they play. They play a very efficient ball control passing game. I would love for them to implement more of the run game, but the problem is you're not what you were last year. You're not last year's run game. I wrote a column in the Miami Herald, sort of analyzing all the issues and things that have factored into the disappearance of the run game. I believe they're averaging like 2.9 yards per carry in the last 3 games, which is absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous. But we know to be a good team in December, you got to be effective at running the football. And my hope is that as Alec Ingold gets healthy, as Julian Hill gets healthy, as Teron Armstead survives the season, because we can't really expect him to get healthy, as Rob Jones gets healthier, this run game will be resurrected. I think today should be a heavy dose of Raheem Mostert. I could be absolutely wrong, but what's been missing from this run game is the outside zone. And Raheem, I know Devon Achan's, close to 1,000 yards. He'll probably get over it for all purpose for the season. But Raheem Mostert, come on, what he did last year, that can't be forgotten. They have seemingly forgotten it, and everybody's saying, oh, his numbers are down, oh, he's having a horrible year, it's the age. I still think Raheem has plenty to prove, and the last time he was here in Green Bay, I believe he ended Aaron Rodgers' Packers career.
No, that's kind of juicy. But I don't know, man. Like, it does feel like he's an afterthought. Like, it does. Like, do you feel like he maybe that injury that he had early on in the season, like, has he ever really recovered from it?
He has recovered from it. What happened? And he was having productive games when he fumbled twice. He just fumbled twice, and he got in the doghouse, and Miami Dade doesn't want to call it the doghouse, and then he suffered his hip injury when he was supposed to get out of the doghouse, and it just hasn't been a good season for him. But Raheem is a fighter, and if you know anything about him, he's about overcoming adversity. You want to count me out, and I think all of Dolphins Nation is counting him out. That's when he surfaces and shows up and shows people don't forget about me, and that's what I expect from him today.
Omar, I want to get your thoughts just because this was the story before the game today. But this whole Shaq Barrett thing, you get the news that he wants to come out of retirement. Then it was said today that nah, we're not going to let you do that, or we're not going to let you go to another team. What do you just make of the whole saga? What's going on here? And if so, if he does want to come back, the Dolphins have no interest in bringing him back. That's not a bridge that could be mended.
Yep. Does he really want to play football, or does he just not want to pay back his signing bonus? And to me, that's a major, if you did really want to play football, why did you do it, the week of your deadline? And I understand that there are complicated situations and scenarios that are associated with this. The man's daughter drowned a year and a half ago. And I need to be more sensitive to that because, hey, grief doesn't have an expiration date. Take some time. He's addressing his family. He's addressing his other kids. Maybe things were going wrong in his marriage and he decided to sit out this year of football. Okay, well, when you made that decision, you put the Dolphins in a horrible position, and they had to do things to address the horrible position that you put them in. Well, now you're going to continue to sit out football. And if we want to revisit this, we can revisit this next year. But you're not going to just pop up and say, oh, I'm ready to play football right now. One, here's the thing. I don't understand why Dolphins fans have this association in their head that this guy's in football shape. You think somebody's going to, even though Melvin Ingram's done it for 2 years, you think somebody's just going to pop up and just be ready to play football, at that position? Even though Melvin Ingram's done it for 2 years. You think that just happens in December? I just don't think so. And, even if I let him back, I would have to let him back at a highly reduced salary. Like they gave you a $5 million signing bonus. They want it back. you need to give it back. And then once you give it back, then we'll consider, figuring out what we do with you, whether we cut you or whether we put you back on the active roster. But that hasn't been the case.
Omar, let me buy into this dream scenario. Dolphins win today. They shock the world. They do what most people in South Florida feel like they can't. They go to a cold weather place to win this game. Even then, it's still, around 48, 49% that they even make the playoffs, kind of hoping that Denver starts to lose some games. Maybe the Chargers start to lose some games. Is it likely they're going to have to win out, though? Like, is that the only way?
Hold on. If they win this game against the toughest opponent that they have on their entire schedule,
right,
barring injury, and they do have an injury today in Tyus Bowser, who just went on IR. So he's a starter. He was the guy who started the games instead of Chop Robinson, and for valid reasons, because he's a run stopper. So now that's going to force Kus Campbell to play more of the edge, and force Deshaun Hand and Benito Jones to play more defensive tackle. So that weakens you a little bit. But if you stay healthy, you can run the table. You can beat every opponent that remains on your schedule. There's nobody you should fear on the remainder of your schedule. This is your biggest test right here. And you go on the road and you take care of business, you will be the hottest team in the NFL right now, probably except for the Detroit Lions. So, it's just a matter of going out there and taking care of business.
You feel
and I do believe that they have the firepower to do it.
All right.
On that firepower, Jalen Waddle had a big breakout game last week. It was good to remind everybody what he's capable of. You feel like that's something he can repeat here? Will there be more attention on him? Like, if you had to guess of number one guy Tua's going to lean on in a game like this, do you think it would be Waddle, or is this a cheetah game? What do you envision in this one?
I think it's actually going to be a Jonnu Smith game, just because these linebackers are relatively weak. If you want to figure out a way to attack your opponent, you attack their weaknesses. I believe you go after the linebackers, and that's with Achane and with Jonnu Smith. And if they want to compensate for that, then they're going to have to bring a safety down, and then that's going to leave the field open for Waddle or Tyreek Hill. But as we see, teams are not getting away from giving Tyreek the attention that he deserves. So it would surprise me if he has a big game, but we never know. Tyreek could just pop out at any point, and just all it takes is him to make one guy miss, and he's gone to the house.
Omar, I'm loving that Jonnu Smith package, by the way. I owe you a big apology again for the third straight week. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. You were so right about that, and I got impatient, man. I'm not going to lie. I got a little impatient, but he's looking good.
Yeah, I think there's more meat on the bone. Like, I've seen more carries. I've seen more end around stuff, but yeah, teams are going to start paying him attention, and that should open up the field for everybody else. And then it'll be interesting to see what it looks like when that happens. I cannot tell you what it's going to look like or predict what's going to happen the rest of the way. They are right now an offense that you pick the way you want to die. You want to die with the big play. You want to die, with us picking you apart with 12, 14 play drives. The only thing that they need to do moving forward is get better at the running the football and juice up that run game. And I just don't know if it's going to happen right now. And this will be a great test for it.
Omar Kelly, go follow his work at the Miami Herald. Always appreciate him giving us time on a game day. Thank you, Omar.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Omar. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Happy Thanksgiving, Omar. All righty. That is Omar Kelly. I'm sorry that he has to be in the frozen tundra, but we will roll on. We will give you some action coming on up here. We got some Porpoise Props coming up. We'll predict a game ball as we wind on down to kickoff. Miami Dolphins, Green Bay Packers on a turkey day. Take a break. Back with more after this on Gameday Uncensored.
Football coverage on
Let's get back to Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
Welcome back, everybody. Tobin and Leroy. No, it's not. It's Game Day Uncensored. I think I ate too much food that makes Lana.
I was about to say, you sound like you're throwing down a little bird right now, man.
I just I have the meat sweats. I went way too hard during that break. I can't wait to start drinking after the show.
Yeah.
But that was I was
almost at the end, right, Tobin? I mean,
almost. I could probably start. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Maybe. But no, dude, I was like, man, I just threw down a lot of trimmings during that break.
I could tell. You came on. You were jacked up. You forgot to unmute your mic. Then you call me Leroy. I look a little different than Leroy. I don't know if you've noticed. Yeah, just a little bit. But we're ready, everybody. We're getting juiced up. I'm jacked up, Tobin.
Me too,
I really
dude.
am. I feel. I don't know why I'm doing it again. I'm buying into this team again, but there's a weird feeling about this where you're like, it's the Packers, bro. Like this isn't Brett Favre 15 years ago. This isn't Aaron Rodgers 10 years ago. It's Jordan Love and the Packers. Come on, Tua.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, look, this is a good team. I don't know if it's like one of the crazy contenders, but they got to.
They're not.
If they're going to move up in weight class,
contender. They're not.
If the Dolphins are going to move up in weight class, they got to win this one. You know, this is like to equate it to my UFC fans out there. This is kind of like the up and coming prospect. He beats somebody to get into the top 5. You know, like this is to get into contendership. You lose, you're a fake, you're a fraud. And that's just what it's going to be. That's what's going to be. I am excited. I am jazzed up for this game. I'm also excited for some Porpoise Props, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go.
Let us get to some action.
It's time for
I don't know about you, but that looked like money.
Porpoise Props.
Hopefully you didn't jinx us.
Props.
Porpoise Props, sponsored by Hard Rock Bet. Hard Rock, roll with us. Anytime touchdowns here today for your Miami Dolphins. Here's what we got, Solana. The favorite on the board, no surprise, Devon Achane. He has been finding a lot of games into the end zone. He's minus 130. Tyreek Hill is plus 145.
Crazy.
Jalen Waddle is still up there pretty juicy, just like he was last week. He did end up getting into the end zone. It was the last touchdown the Dolphins scored, and he's at plus 190 again.
It's longer odds, right? Because I think it was plus 180 last Sunday, Tobin, when we did the show, wasn't it?
Maybe it was. That's kind of crazy. But how about this? Jonnu Smith is sitting there at plus 230. Pretty good value for one of these targets Tua Tagovailoa loves to go to. So, I mean,
if I'm looking at value plays, I know this is going to sound crazy, but Jonnu Smith plus 230, I think is a no-brainer. Again, if you're just looking at like value. And then again, Tobin, this might sound crazy. Raheem Mostert at plus 375. I know he's a ghost right now. He's not getting carries. He's been frozen out. I get it. Don't you think it's as good a time as any, as Omar just said? He kind of sold me on it to incorporate him back into the running game. Like, McDaniel trusts this guy. He really does. He sent his message already. He trusts his guys. And last year, led the damn team in touchdowns. Something tells me, I'm not saying he's going to have 120 yards. Like, this isn't going to be vintage Raheem. But late in the game, in the red zone, I think McDaniel still trusts his guy.
What about this? Okay, so what about one of the young guns? We got a couple of rookies. Could either of them find the way to the end zone? Do you like this number enough? Because remember last week we had the Tua fake out. He fakes it to Malik Washington, over the shoulder to Jalen Wright. Now, it wasn't a touchdown, but if they bust out one of those in the red zone, Malik Washington sitting at plus 800. How do you like that as a flyer? A little bit of something on Malik Washington for them. Do you feel like that is a throwing my money? He has scored. He had that. What was that? That was
against the Rams, right? First drive, he had the end around touchdown on Monday Night Football.
Do you like that? You think a little prime time showing off to LeFleur?
I'll tell you what, I like that hell of a lot more than putting my money on Julian Hill at plus 1,000, you bum. Because I know you're going to do it again. You're just going to throw your money away on Julian Hill. I like Malik Washington more. They've shown you they'll get a little trickery with Malik Washington. And Tua had that nice throw late in the third quarter to him as well on Monday Night Football. So already in a primetime spot, they've shown you they're not afraid of targeting him.
Can I just say, I don't like everybody yelling at me every time Julian Hill does something badly. I would have expected at this point he doesn't play he wouldn't play as much because this is Mike McDaniel ruling with an iron fist, and this man has more penalty yards than he does actual production yards. But here's the thing, guys. I got to just stick with principle. That's just what I'm doing here. If you're right, if I wasn't stubborn, I would have stopped gambling on him a long time ago. This is just why I'm on board. I am the cello player on the Titanic. That's just what I'm doing. But I know full well this is going to end with him either A, getting a holding penalty, B, an unnecessary roughness, C, fumbling inside the 5, or D, just a yard short.
All of the above. All of the above.
Because every one of those things has happened this year, which, look, last week I used the explanation against Jalen Waddle. I said he's due. I don't feel that way with Julian Hill because I feel like what he's going to do is find a new way to surprise me of how he's not going to get in the end zone. That's pretty much how he's lived his life in football.
We have a new sort of theory about Julian Hill. I think he's blind and he's deaf. Tobin, how do you feel about that? He's blind. He doesn't know like if he's holding somebody, if he's not holding somebody, constantly jumping, and putting the Dolphins in a bad position. And obviously he can't hold on to the football either. Can't catch the football either. And I think he's deaf because he doesn't know when Tua's hiking the ball. He just doesn't. He just jumps. He's wherever he wants to be. He jumps off sides constantly. I think he's blind. He's deaf, bro. And that's who you're putting money on.
So you look at him almost as as like dark dining, like when you go to one of these restaurants where they take away your senses. That's Julian Hill playing football.
And that's the guy you're putting money on. Congratulations to score a touchdown.
Sir John says a Zach Sealer anytime touchdown. Well, why don't we just peruse? I mean,
Jalen Ramsey's plus 5,000.
I think so is Zach Sealer. So if you feel like a defensive score could come, Javon Holland, Jalen Ramsey, and Zach Sealer probably the most likely candidates to make that happen. All are plus 5,000. All defensive players are really plus 5,000 in this game. So if you're interested in that,
are you gonna get mad at me if I just swipe a little bit to the right and I just take a gander at the rushing yards to see what the props are set at, and then I just scroll down all the way to the last name listed.
All right,
Tua Tagovailoa.
Wow,
2.5. He didn't even run. He didn't attempt to rush last week. It was at 2.5. A lot of people took the over. Didn't attempt to run last week. But how do you feel about this? Honestly, cold weather game. Like Omar said, about it. He doesn't love when it's raining and there's some frustration there with him being able to hold the ball when it's wet and it's cold. Can you see like Tua's like, I got to make a play. This is a game we got to win, and he's going to do it by any means necessary.
That game where he threw his head for the first down, I was like, all right, he's just going to do this. I think it was the Buffalo game. Like, he's going at it. And I'm still scared when he does it, but I have to come to the realization this man is going to just play football. And I don't love when he runs. I still get nervous when he runs, but he does run. 2 yards is nothing. 2.5 yards is nothing. I mean, I see nothing wrong with that, Solana, unless we are about to face a colossal letdown from the offensive line where you're going to get burned on like sacks or something like that. I think you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Tehran's in, so I feel good about it. I really do.
All right, that is Porpoise Props. We will take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. We will predict the game ball, give some final thoughts going into Dolphins and Packers Thanksgiving Day matchup. Back with more after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota
AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Gameday Uncensored is sponsored by Southern Lexus Dealers. Find your summer getaway at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Get offers on select models through September 3rd. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Edmore's has your back. Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Getting ready for Dolphins and Packers. Final segment here on the program as we lead you in. Again, Dan Day, who is producing this program, Dan comes your way today, 11 p.m. is when he goes, and who knows? He says minimum 1:30, but who knows if the beer is flowing. Celebrate again. I don't know what's going to go longer. What would people want to do? People want to celebrate more through the Thanksgiving, or do you feel like they just want to rip the team?
No, they want to rip the team. Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that'll always want to win. No, actually, I do think the Dolphins are going to win tonight. So we're going to have a party tonight.
Wow, this comfort level we all have is what the discomfort is in the comfort that we're all like we're starting to believe. We're starting to put our arms around it, and that's always when it's like, oh no.
Are you comfortable though, Tobin? Like, genuinely, you have confidence right now?
I have confidence because I like how the team is playing. I like how they've gone about these games. I do like how the offense has looked. I like how Tua's looked. I think the defense has been sneaky good. I am in love with how Chop is playing. Like, I know that people were like, hey, this was a slow roll, and there was comparisons to Verse at the end. This kid looks like a real one. Like he looks like the Dolphins, like they nailed him. And I'm excited about that. I feel like since they've come back, since Zach Sieler came back from the eye poke, we don't have to talk about how it happened, although we all know. He's been an absolute menace. Their stars on defense are so good. And I feel like that can carry whatever weaknesses there are with linebacker, with Jordan Poyer. I know that they're bringing up the rookie McMorris because they got rid of Marcus May. So we'll see if he's going to, I don't expect him to have this all world game, but I like how the defense has come along with this. And so they feel as complete as they have been. I mean, what's their biggest loss right now? Austin Jackson, So,
I mean, that's a pretty big loss, though. You have a lefty quarterback and he's a right tackle. So like, don't downplay it. They also don't have Jalen Phillips. Yeah, he has. I'm not knocking the offensive line. I'm not knocking anything you're saying, but the more and more I think about it, because I even made the point to Bees, like, this is kind of healthy as they've been, right? They're also missing probably two of their three best players on the defensive side of the football, and JP and Bradley Chubb. Had I told you coming into the season you'd be approaching this game and Chubb and JP aren't active, you probably wouldn't feel good about it, but it's just the context of how the season has played out. Tobin, you're right. The defense seems to be clicking. Best they've looked all season coming into this game. The offense, certainly best they've looked coming into the season, into this game right now. And for whatever reason, that's when the Dolphins let you down the biggest, right there. Where everything seems to be clicking on national TV. And that is why as we talked about to start the show, I don't blame anybody for being gutless about this game. It does seem a little bit different, though. At some point, something's got to give with this team, right? I mean, that's what I'm clinging to.
This is the thing. That's like we're all going to say this feels different until if they blow it. And then we're like, oh, we fell for it again. Again. We fell for it. And I bet you there's plenty of people who are like, we're not falling for it. I'm sure there are the pessimists out there who are like, nah, no, not doing it. Which they're going to get to live today, maybe more stress-free, because I'm going to sit on my couch in a matter of minutes, and I'm ready to have my heart broken because I want to believe. I want to believe that this is going to be different. I want to believe that we're going to have an amazing Thanksgiving. I want to believe that Jordan Love's going to look like an overrated bum who's going to throw 2 picks, one of them a pick 6 to Jalen Ramsey. I want to believe that Zach Sieler is going to have a fumble recovery, and I want to believe that Tua is going to make like a Thanksgiving turkey, and he's going to carve up this Packers defense, which is pretty decent. And I want to believe that, because that is what's going to lead to an exciting rest of this year. But I can't lie. Like, there's going to be that little voice in the back of my head that as soon as like they go 3-0, I'm like, oh.
Here we go. Here we go. Yeah.
So it's very fragile. It's very fragile. I'm going into this one. It's not like it's one I'm really trying to fuel up. I'm trying to bring it on up there, but I do think there are reasons to have hope. I don't think this is all just smoke and mirrors. I think that there are things that have gotten better. I think that, and I would say the biggest one on offense is they got a legitimate third target with their 2 stars with Jonnu. Jonnu's been incredible. Devon Achan's been as reliable as they come no matter what. And I do think that the defense has molded into something very well-rounded. This is as big a test as they've had. So we'll see. And they have a quarterback who they're going up against. Like, he may come out and start slinging it down the field immediately and be like, let's see how this one goes. And we're going to feel a little, but he can get willy-nilly with that football. So that's why I'm hoping there can be a big time turnover from this defense to really just spark something for Miami right off the bat.
Just to kind of sum it up here, Tobin, because I know we're up against it. I can paint the picture of how the Dolphins win this game easily. I can draw that path out in my mind, but I can just as easily paint the picture of how this ends up being a disaster, because we've seen it too many times. So hopefully it's the former rather than the latter, brother. That's what I'm hoping tonight. I'm
being accused of snorting Hope Kane from Dolphin Kane. It's like they just there's those big grains falling, like they're all like Firster.
Yeah, Chris Firster. Relax, brother. Tobin Firster.
It's like, Chop Robinson, Rookie of the Year. Jalen Waddle, 200 yards. Tua better than Dan Marino. Oh, no, wait, that was Hawk. That's Hawk game.
I'm still upset about that. I'm still upset that I couldn't celebrate. I couldn't celebrate a Dolphins victory over New England 7-0 for Tua because Hawk decided he wants to make Tua better than Marino, and I've got to pump the brakes on it so our show doesn't sound that stupid.
Predict the game ball, man. Who's going to get it today? Pick the guy.
I'm kind of 2 for 2 on this, right? I had Jonnu 2 weeks ago. I had Tua 2 weeks ago. I'm going Jordan Love. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
You are a bastard.
Devon Achan. Devon Achan gets the game ball today. Even though he had 2 touchdowns last week, I like it today. Again, 2 touchdowns. Devon Achan. And if the Dolphins win, he has to have a monster game.
I am going to give it to Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey is going to have a breakout national TV game. I think he's definitely getting a pick, possibly a pick 6. And I think this is one where number 5 really swings things for Miami. And he has a big time performance. So I think Ramsey's going to be the guy. I think this is going to be dictated by him. And man, I want to be celebrating this one so bad, Solana. Let's hope this is it. This is no bull bleep. We got Jason Garrett on the call today. That's like so the opposite of Kevin Harlan. I mean, you want to talk about just like what is the worst dessert that there is on the Thanksgiving table? That's Jason Garrett.
But we're getting Harlan again soon. So
I think for a Jets game,
for a Jets game. So, something to look forward to. It would feel a lot better you win this game tonight.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Once again, tune into Dan Day. He will be streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, and of course on regular radio and on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, free in your app store. The handle on our video streams are Miami 560 WQAM, so you guys can tune into Dan Day starting at 11. He'll go to at least 1:30 in the morning here on Turkey Day, off into the Black Friday hours, and hopefully it will be celebrating a Dolphins victory. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Omar Kelly. Thanks to Adam Beasley for stopping by the show. Fins up. Let's hope they get this one done. Everybody have a great rest of your Thanksgiving.
And that's the Thanksgiving edition of Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans.
Hey, bro. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, let's hope the Dolphins have one.
Happy Sons.